Welcome to Bamboo Audio, where gentle, healing love stories warm your heart. Please give the channel a like and subscribe so we have motivation to release new stories. In ancient times, people believed that one's body and hair were gifts given by their parents, so cutting one's hair was no different from suffering a severe punishment. Even though the two servants received reward money, they dared not go out afterward for fear of being ridiculed by the world. Meanwhile, on the screen, the image of Donald Yu forcing the servants to cut their hair gradually appeared. Those two servants regretted it so much they just wanted to die. This matter was indeed a shocking event in the era GD Song lived in, but if placed in modern times, it would not be anything surprising. GD Song asked, Kwa, can you show a few pictures of modern men and women? It has been a long time since I have seen handsome and romantic young masters and ladies. I miss them a little, Kwa replied. Currently, the host can only display paintings and images of ancient people. As for things belonging to the modern era, they cannot be shown yet. Perhaps wait until the next upgrade to broadcast them. Gigi asked again, so when will you be able to upgrade? Kwa answered. Even I do not know this matter. Alright. Gigi felt a bit discouraged. This wig story is nothing worth discussing anymore, it is truly boring. Do you have any other news about the boiled egg? Change the news. Everyone looked gloatingly toward official Donald Yu. This nickname, Boiled Egg, was actually quite good. From now on, they could secretly call him Lord Boiled Egg. Someone thought of a dark, shiny boiled egg and associated it with the shiny bald head of Lord Donald, unable to stop themselves from bursting into laughter. However, as soon as the sound was made, that person immediately realized their loss of composure and hurriedly covered their mouth. The eyes of everyone immediately gathered toward the person who just laughed. Gigi also looked up. Kwa, what was that sound just now? It sounded like laughter. Kwa denied it. It could not be laughter. Who dares to have the audacity to laugh in the middle of the imperial court? It must be someone hiccupaned? That is right, Gigi nodded. Who is tired of living and dares to laugh here? Continue. When the gaze of Little Minister Song swept over the crowd, everyone jumped, fearing they would be discovered. Fortunately, it was just a false alarm. But having said that, Lord Donald was truly too unlucky. Little Minister Song had just dug up a rumor, complained it was not interesting, and then continued to search for another one. It was unknown if Lord Donald regretted provoking Little Minister Song or not. Kwa asked, Host, you feel it is not interesting? This matter is earth-shattering in ancient times? Gigi replied, boring. Kwa said, alright, but Donald also has a younger sister, and her story is the real big news. Do you want to hear it? Yes, tell me. Kwa began. Donald has a younger sister named Diana Yu. As soon as Kwa's voice faded, an image of a woman with outstanding beauty appeared on the screen in front of Gigi. Diana Yu, Gigi exclaimed in surprise. Wow, I did not expect the boiled egg to have such a beautiful younger sister. His sister is so beautiful, yet he looks so ordinary. Could it be that the boiled egg was picked up from the streets? Kwa corrected. Host, they are truly biological siblings from the same father and mother. Gigi pouted. It seems all the good looks in this family were given to his sister. Kwa continued. Host, do not look at Diana's appearance and think she is still young. In fact, she is already over 30 years old. Really? I cannot tell at all. Right, is there any news about her? Kwa narrated. When Diana was 16, she married Junior General Stephen Shi. 2 years after the marriage, she finally became pregnant. On the day she intended to announce this good news to her husband, she unexpectedly arrived at the door and accidentally overheard a conversation between Stephen and his mother. It turned out that Stephen never loved Diana. He married her only because of the Yu family's status, wanting to borrow her family's power to consolidate his official career. The reason she was delayed in getting pregnant for so long was that after every time the couple was intimate, Stephen would personally bring her a bowl of tonic soup. However, that was not tonic medicine but actually sterilization soup. This time she was pregnant entirely because she felt unwell that day. After drinking the tonic soup he handed over, she felt nauseous and vomited it all out before she could digest it. Diana also learned that Stephen already had another woman outside, and their child was even 3 years old. He originally just waited until he finished using the Yu family to use the excuse of having no offspring to divorce her, then openly welcome that woman and his illegitimate child into the house. Diana did not immediately rush in to question him, but quietly returned to her courtyard, packed a few simple items, and returned to her parents' home. In the video segment, she stood in front of the door, covering her mouth tightly to stop the sobs from bursting out, but tears kept falling down. She understood clearly that if the Shi family knew she had heard this, they would likely find a way to imprison her. then quietly kill her and announce to the outside world that she died of a serious illness. Returning to the Yu family, she immediately recounted everything. The next day, the Yu family marched to the Shi residence, demanding to dissolve the marriage between the two families. At first, the Shi family disagreed, but when the Yu family coldly mentioned the woman outside and the illegitimate child, the Shi family finally panicked and eventually agreed reasonably. Jegi commented, "In this era, men who want to rely on women to climb high are truly numerous. This type of person is called eating soft rice while acting tough, truly thick-skinned and shameless." Kwa continued, "After Diana returned to her parents' home, the Yu family members wanted her to be able to remarry into a good family, so they advised her to remove the child in her belly. However, after the doctor diagnosed her, he said that because Diana had used sterilization soup for many years, her body was damaged, and it would be difficult to conceive again in the future. The child forming in her belly was already a miracle. If she lost it this time, she would likely never have the chance to have children again in her life." Hearing this, Diana decided to keep the child. Just like that, she gave birth to a daughter named Crystal Yu. In the video was the image of Diana after giving birth at her parents' home, then holding her daughter and leaving, moving to live in her dowry villa. Seeing this, Gigi sighed, "That is good, escaping that scumbag and raising her child alone. Truly a legendary and inspiring story." Quack had erupted, host, I am not finished yet." Because of her exquisite beauty, even though Diana was divorced, countless people still came to propose. But she had no intention of remarrying. Instead, several handsome male companions appeared by her side later on. These men only provided her with pleasure without emotional attachment. In the video, the men beside Diana were all handsome and dashing with outstanding appearances. Jiggy smirked. It seems Diana was hurt too deeply, so she became indulgent like this. Her policy is that there are countless men in the world. If this one does not work, change to another. As long as one has money and beauty, one can have any type of man. Days surrounded by handsome men. Living happily and freely, why tie oneself to a crooked tree? Kwakwa reminded, "Host, you only dare to say these words in your heart. Do you have the guts to say them in front of your parents?" Gigi replied, "I am not stupid. I do not want to be beaten. But why are we dragging me into the story about Diana?" Continue the story. A few months ago, a major event happened. Jiggy was impatient. "What happened?" "Speak quickly," Kwakwa explained. "For months ago, Diana's daughter, Crystal, reached marriageable age. The Yu family selected a fiancé for her. It was a man named Ethan Tian, the son of a minor official. Ethan's biological mother died early, and his father immediately took a stepmother. This stepmother was extremely wary of him, finding every way to suppress and harm him, but fortunately, he was protected by his grandmother, so he escaped danger many times. If not for his grandmother's protection, he would likely have long ceased to exist in this world." Jiggy asked, "Then what happened?" Kwakwa continued, "Crystal greatly admired Ethan's talent, so the two of them became engaged. But then one day, early in the morning when Crystal went to greet her mother, she saw with her own eyes her fiancé walking out of Diana's room. In the video, hickey marks remained on Ethan's neck as he walked straight out of Diana's room. Crystal could not believe her eyes, pushed Ethan aside with force and rushed into the room. Before her eyes, clothes were scattered on the ground, and on the bed, Diana was sleeping soundly, her body covered in ambiguous marks. Crystal's sky seemed to collapse. At this moment, Ethan also hurriedly ran in, blocking the front of the bed, afraid Crystal would hurt Diana. All the officials present were stunned looking at this scene. A son-in-law falling in love with his mother-in-law. Donald also looked at the image in the video in horror, unable to believe what was happening. Jitty exclaimed in surprise, "Kwakwa, can this world get any more chaotic? Son-in-law and mother-in-law. Can this world get any crazier?" Kwakwa sighed, "Host, not only can you not keep up, but I am afraid everyone cannot keep up with this train of thought." Jiggy mocked, "Ethan truly has a special taste. He is only about 17 or 18 years old, right? He does not like a beautiful young girl, but instead gets entangled with a woman old enough to be his mother. Is there something wrong with his brain?" In the video, the gaze Ethan used to look at Diana was full of infatuation, with love not hidden in the slightest. Jiggy was speechless. Even if Diana is beautiful, her age is still there. Could this be the saying that as long as there is love, age is not a problem? I really cannot understand this kind of emotion. Does Ethan suffer from an Oedipus complex? In the video, as Ethan and Crystal were confronting each other, Diana on the bed was awakened by the noise. She opened her eyes, saw her daughter and son-in-law in her room, and was startled. When she looked down at her naked self, she hurriedly pulled the blanket to cover her body. Seeing the action of pulling the blanket, Crystal's anger flared up, and she scolded through gritted teeth, "Diana, do you still intend to pretend? Do you still know shame? You do not even spare your own son-in-law. You truly do not deserve to be a mother." Diana's eyes were dull, and it took a long time to react before she hurriedly explained, "Crystal, listen to mother explain first." "Explain what? I only believe what my eyes see. You two are truly a pair of despicable adulterers." After cursing these words, Crystal cried loudly, then turned and ran away. Diana wanted to chase after her, but her body was naked, so she could do nothing. Ethan looked at her aggrievedly, his voice carrying a hint of coquetry. "Diana, we did everything that needed to be done last night. It was my first time. I am already yours. You cannot put on your clothes and then wipe your hands clean of the relationship. If you do not want me, I will die for you to see." Diana rubbed her forehead, feeling her temples throbbing, and said irritably, "You go out first, wait for me to finish dressing, then we will talk." Ethan was even more aggrieved. "Diana, is there any place on your body I have not seen? You were so tired last night, let me help you dress, do not be shy." Diana immediately grabbed a pillow and threw it straight at him, shouting angrily, "Get out now." Seeing she was truly angry, Ethan felt extremely wronged but did not dare to provoke her further. He could only walk away, but for every 3 steps, he turned his head back once. Extremely reluctant to part, Jiggy watched in a daze, and the people around could not help but be shocked. Why did this situation turn out like this? If a man made a mistake, shouldn't he take out silver to silence the other party? But this situation was completely unlike what they thought. Ethan was a man, yet he appeared so pitiful, acting as if he wanted to live or die. It truly defiled the demeanor of a scholar. Only Donald was ashamed to the point his face turned completely red. He really did not expect such a thing to happen. Gigi muttered, "Why is it like this?" Could it be that Ethan had deeply fallen for Diana long ago? The way they were rolling around together looks like it was planned for a long time. Qua replied, "Host, even this matter was seen through by you." That is right, Ethan had calculated this from before. His engagement to Crystal was nothing more than a way to approach Diana. From beginning to end, the person he loved was only Diana. Gigi's eyes lit up. Qua, there is a big story in here. Tell me quickly what exactly happened." This story must be told starting from 12 years ago. That year, Diana was raising her daughter Crystal alone. Once when returning from outside, she accidentally discovered a comatose child in the suburbs. That child was only about 5 or 6 years old. Diana immediately took him to the clinic, and only after he woke up did she learn the story. It turned out that when the child's grandmother went to the temple to offer incense, his stepmother tricked him out of the residence and abandoned him in the wilderness, leaving him to fend for himself. Fortunately, Diana passed by and saved him. She not only took him to the clinic but also bought him quite a bit of food. She asked him what his name was, but the child lowered his head and remained silent, not saying a word. Seeing he did not want to speak, Diana did not force him and kept him in the residence to raise for a whole month. However, one day, that child suddenly disappeared. Diana reported this to the officials, but still could not find any trace of him. During the days living with the child in the residence, Diana remembered clearly a small child whose eyes always carried a sense of reliance, occasionally stealing glances at her. Every time she hugged him, he would tighten his arms around her neck. As if afraid she would disappear, Gigi said decisively, "That child was Ethan Tiend." Qua confirmed, "Correct, at that time Ethan almost died." A month later, when the old madam returned from the temple, she discovered her eldest grandson was missing. Ethan's father inquired and found out his son had been lost for a month. Forced by the old madam, his father finally began the search. The old madam spent quite a bit of silver asking people to investigate the news, and finally found the child. She originally wanted to thank Diana for saving her grandson, but Ethan refused to let her go. Because if she went to give thanks, his stepmother would find out. And if so, wouldn't that make Diana the person who ruined her plan? He feared his stepmother would harm Diana. Although her maternal family had certain power, she was alone and raising a small child, making it hard to guard against vicious schemes. Not wanting Diana to be hurt, he could only quietly return with the old madam. The moment he left, his gaze was still reluctant to part. Gigi was amazed. So there was such a backstory. Qua confirmed, "Correct." In the years that followed, whenever Ethan encountered difficulties, he would always remember Diana. He remembered that warm embrace. She was the light of his life. He once returned to find her but only dared to watch silently from afar. 12 years later, when he heard Crystal was looking for a match, he decided to act, solely to approach Diana again. With his talent he indeed attracted Crystal and successfully became engaged to her. In the video, Ethan used every scheme to appear before Diana again. He would occasionally zone out, following her figure with his eyes. Giddy commented, "I really do not know how to judge this love affair." However, when Ethan did this, did he ever think about Crystal? He likes Diana, he could have pursued her openly. Why did he drag Crystal into this vortex? Crystal is innocent. Hurting such a girl. Does his conscience not ache? Kwakwa explained, when he first started, Ethan also thought about directly pursuing Diana. However, the men she accepted as gigolos were all around 23 to 26 years old. Even younger men who wanted to join were rejected by her for being too young. Ethan was not old enough, so he came up with this roundabout plan. Initially, he thought that just standing from a distance to protect Diana was enough satisfaction. But that night, a drunk Diana held his hand tightly and would not let go. Ethan half refused and half compiled. In the video, although Diana was drunk, she only pulled Ethan's arm and did nothing excessive. On the contrary, it was Ethan who kept pouring wine for her. Diana was dead drunk and mistook him for one of her gigolos. Ethan just went along with it, but the smile on his lips could not be hidden. Gigi understood immediately upon seeing this. This kid had plotted this for a long time. Look at how happily he smiled. It can be confirmed that Ethan definitely has an Oedipus complex. Kawa said, right now Diana's place is extremely lively. Crystal wants to sever the mother-daughter relationship with her. Meanwhile, Ethan incessantly harasses them, crying, making a scene, and even threatening to hang himself, demanding Diana take responsibility. He claims his body was taken by Diana so she cannot discard him. If she dares to deny it, he immediately puts a knife to his neck, threatening suicide. In the video, the place where Diana lives is as lively as a grand opera every day. As long as Ethan is displeased, he uses death as a threat. Crystal hates this adulterous couple to the bone. Her fiancé turned into her stepfather. It is truly disgusting. She is determined to cut off all relations. The crowd watched the video segment, clicking their tongues in amazement, watching with fascination. This residence is indeed more spectacular than a theater stage. Gigi smirked wickedly. This matter is unprecedentedly lively. Kwa, tell me, should I add fuel to the fire and go report this to that boiled egg Donald? If he hears this news, I am afraid the few sparse hairs on his head will also fall out. Ha! Gigi laughed maliciously. Kwa said, host, decide for yourself. Gigi waved her hand, forget it. I will just sit here and watch the play, no need to report to the boiled egg. The crowd spoke up again. Little Minister Song, have you considered the possibility that perhaps the boiled egg already knows about this? Gigi suddenly paused, thought for a moment, then spoke again. But I truly feel heartbroken for Crystal. Such a good girl became a stepping stone for her biological mother and stepfather. What does she lack that even her fiancé does not want her, but instead is infatuated with her mother? If this matter spreads, I fear her future marriage prospects will be extremely difficult. It is truly an ill-fated relationship. If it were in modern times, it would just be a broken engagement, nothing worth making a fuss about. At most, if married, one can divorce. This matter was originally not a big deal. I only hope Crystal sees things clearly soon. Kwakwa thoughtfully nodded. That girl is indeed very pitiful. After that, Gigi and Kwakwa said no more words. Although they were silent, the eyes of the crowd kept sweeping over Donald. Occasionally, someone would secretly look at his head, seemingly wanting to peel off that wig to see if he was bald just like in the video. It was not until Marquise Thomas Song took Gigi away and the old officials left that the ministers surrounded Donald. He immediately felt a sense of foreboding. Before he could open his mouth to ask what they wanted to do, the wig on his head was snatched off. Everyone looked at his shiny bald head, indeed exactly as described in the video. Then they lowered their heads to carefully observe the exquisite wig. No one mocked Donald, but instead asked curiously, "Where did you order this wig?" It turned out they shared the same plight. However, the wigs they used were not suitable. If not for Gigi exposing it, they would not have realized this was a wig because it was too exquisite. At this moment, everyone hoped to find the craftsman who made it to order a wig that fit them. Donald did not expect the imperial court to have so many bald people. Officials sharing the same trouble as him were not few. It was just that today he misspoke and provoked Gigi, leading to being exposed right in front of everyone. Donald gave the craftsman's address and information to the officials, then hurriedly left. He still had to quickly return to handle Diana's matter. A prestigious family having such a scandal was truly difficult to accept. On this side, after returning to the residence and changing clothes, the first thing Gigi did was visit Harry Song. When she arrived, a servant was holding a storybook, reading the story of Journey to the West to Harry. Seeing Gigi, Harry smiled and said, "Gigi is back. What are you doing? Reading a story? Recently, this storybook has been extremely popular. One must order in advance to buy it." Gigi nodded slightly. Journey to the West becoming famous is a matter of course. This story is classic enough that there is no need for debate. More importantly, being famous also means my purse will become increasingly full. She happily checked Harry's wounds, then left to eat. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Early this afternoon, Emperor Leon announced that King Miles would arrive in half a month. This time King Miles comes to the capital for the marriage of Fei Kang, ordering the Ministry of Rites to arrange the reception carefully. Days passed again, and finally, the rest of the day arrived. These past days, Jiggy obediently stayed in the residence, never setting foot anywhere else except for going to court. This made her bored to death. Under her constant pleading, Lady Nancy Song finally agreed to let her go out, but worried about danger she ordered many guards to accompany her. Moreover, she forced her eldest sister, Linda Song, to go along. Bluntly speaking, it was to have Linda Song watch over her, fearing she would cause trouble again. Jiggy laughed and readily agreed. Going along is fine. Anyway, when it is time to cause trouble, I will still cause trouble. Even if the King of Heaven comes, he cannot stop me. Honestly speaking, if something happens, can a weak person like Big Sister stop me? As soon as the carriage entered the bustling street, Jiggy saw Crystal on the road. She had seen her in the video segment before, so she recognized her immediately. At this moment Quaqua's voice rang out, "Host, that young lady over there is Crystal." Jiggy looked at Quaqua. "Host, Donald already knows about the affair between Diana and Ethan." Hearing this, Jiggy's spirit immediately lifted. That old bald man knew so quickly. Was he angry to death? Having said that, Diana caused so much trouble it is normal for the old bald man to go crazy. How did he intend to handle it? Quaqua replied. He has severed relations with Diana and removed her name from the family genealogy. Crystal also severed the mother-daughter relationship with Diana and dissolved the engagement with Ethan. Donald welcomed Crystal to the U residence, declaring to the outside world that from now on she is the young lady of the U residence. Jiggy nodded. That is not bad. From now on, Crystal has this status, her identity immediately rises several levels. In the future she will surely be able to marry into a good family. This can be seen as minimizing the damage to her. That old bald man has a foul mouth, but he handled this matter very well. Quaqua continued. After Crystal broke off the engagement, Ethan became even more unscrupulous, causing trouble everywhere, forcing Diana to speak up to clear his name, and forcing her to sever relations with the men outside. If Diana did not agree, Ethan would drag her to bed for a passionate session. Finally, Diana also compromised. Jiggy chuckled and managed to persuade Diana. He is truly a formidable character. Does the Tian family not manage this matter? Quaqua replied. Ethan's grandmother passed away a few years ago. After the old lady died, his father listened to the pillow talk of the wife beside him and wanted to kick him out of the residence. If it were not for the fact that he was about to be engaged to Crystal at that time, he would have been kicked out long ago. Currently, Ethan is just a lonely person, with no one left to restrain him. Jiggy raised her eyebrows. So that is how it is. In that case, Ethan and Diana seem to be bound together. Hopefully, they just torment each other and do not sow disaster for others. Knowing the development of the event, Jiggy withdrew her gaze. Suddenly, she felt a gaze watching her. Looking up in that direction, she met a pair of gloomy eyes, but the owner of those eyes did not avoid her at all. After a moment of stun, just by seeing the other party, Jiggy felt disgusted. This was the first time she disliked someone as soon as they met. That person's gaze made her feel like she was being stared at by a poisonous snake. Not responding to the other party's smile, Jiggy decisively withdrew her gaze. Just then, a call rang out, "Little Minister Song." Jiggy looked up and under the bright sunlight, two familiar figures appeared before her eyes, Prince Felix and Prince Travis. Her mind full of doubts, Jiggy asked in a low voice, Quaqua, since when were these two princes so close? Why are they walking together like that? Quaqua replied, its tone a bit innocent. Host, is there a possibility? Perhaps they just met by chance. Jiggy pouted, raising her eyebrows in skepticism. A coincidental meeting is too much of a coincidence. Unknowingly, both Prince Felix and Prince Travis heard every word in her heart clearly. The two glanced at each other, simultaneously revealing looks of disgust, each instinctively stepping aside. Jiggy saw that they had not yet opened their mouths when Prince Felix spoke first. Last time, Little Minister Song dared to risk her life to help this prince achieve great merit. This prince has not yet had the opportunity to express gratitude. I have been busy these past few days. Originally, I planned to visit the residence personally after finishing work, but I did not expect to be fated to meet from afar today. Just as he finished speaking, he turned his head to look at Prince Travis. Didn't the sixth brother also just arrive? So we traveled together conveniently. Prince Travis nodded slightly, slowly continuing. That is right, just as fifth brother said. We only met by chance. Seeing them show such disgust for each other, Jiggy finally believed their words. Prince Felix looked at her and asked aloud, "Little Minister Song, where do you plan to go today?" Jiggy did not hide it and replied calmly, "We also just came out and have no specific destination, just wandering at will." Prince Felix looked up at the sky, then pointed toward a nearby tea house. "The weather is so hot. Why not let this prince take the lead and invite everyone to Lanshin Courtyard for tea?" Jiggy followed the direction of his hand and saw a magnificent 4-story building. Wasn't this the exact place where she had just caught sight of the person who made her uncomfortable? Prince Felix continued, "Among the tea houses in the capital, the storyteller of Jingmijai is the most famous, but if one wants to eat pastries, one must go to Lanshin Courtyard. The chef here used to make pastries in the palace for the emperor father. His skills are truly outstanding." While speaking, they stepped into Lanshin Courtyard. Indeed, the tea house was crowded with customers. The waiter led them to a private room on the 4th floor. Very quickly after that, various special pastries were served. The pastries were indeed not bad. Jiggy enjoyed them while asking in a low voice, "Kwa kwa kwa kwa, earlier in this tea house, there was a pair of cold eyes staring at me, making me extremely uncomfortable. Do you know who the owner of those eyes is?" Kwa kwa answered seriously, "Host, I was just about to tell you about this. That person is none other than the master behind the Mingyuan Pavilion, Lance Luo." Along with Kwa Kwa's voice, the image of Lance Luo appeared on the screen in front of Jiggy. Prince Felix and Prince Travis caught a glimpse and immediately gaped in shock. Jiggy did not recognize this person, but the two princes knew very well that Lance Luo, who had played the role of a hedonistic playboy for years, was actually a disguise. He turned out to be the master behind the famous assassin organization, Mingyuan Pavilion. Jiggy exclaimed angrily, "Good, truly a rotten turtle. I had not come to find him yet, but he delivered himself to my door." She clenched her fists, her voice full of hatred. It was the Mingyuan Pavilion of this villain that accepted the order from Marquis Louis Liu, acting to cut the tendons of my second brother's hands and feet. This feud is irreconcilable. I said from the first time I met him I did not like him. It turns out there was a reason. She narrowed her eyes, her tone full of killing intent. On the contrary, I want to see what background this villain actually has. Kwa Kwa, tell me all his information. Kwa Kwa immediately replied, "Yes, host. Lance Luo is the son of the current first-rank Grand Tutor, Lord Philip Luo. His mother, Lady Tessa Key, was a childhood sweetheart of Lord Philip, their affection extremely deep. However, that year Lord Philip was framed, drugged, and committed incest with his cousin Lady Kylie Chi, and was even caught in the act. He could do nothing but marry Lady Kylie. Although Lady Tessa was heartbroken, in this era, it was common for men to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, so she accepted it. However, Lady Kylie was not a kind person. She bribed the maid beside Lady Tessa to secretly administer chronic poison. By the time Lady Tessa discovered it, the poison had entered her organs and could not be cured, and she finally died of grievance. At that time, Lance Luo was only 8 years old. When he learned the truth, he did not cry or make a scene, but only pretended to become a hedonistic playboy. Lady Kylie saw that he was incompetent and useless, so she relaxed her guard. But she did not know that Lance Luo had silently endured for a whole year, just waiting for an opportunity. Finally, on the day Lady Kylie went to offer incense, he arranged to hijack the sedan chair. Yes, he arranged to hijack the sedan chair and kidnap her. He did not kill her immediately but sliced her flesh piece by piece, torturing her for 2 whole days until she died in despair. On the screen, the image of Lance Luo standing in front of Lady Kylie's bloody corpse appeared. In his eyes there was not a trace of emotion. Jiggy laughed coldly. "This guy is truly a demon in human skin. This matter is not worth discussing." Although the method was somewhat cruel, it was the retribution that Lady Kylie deserved to bear. After Lady Kylie died, her maternal family quickly found out the murderer was Lance Luo. Therefore, they immediately came to find Lord Philip, forcing him to hand the person over. Lord Philip had always felt guilty towards Lady Tessa in his heart, and felt even more guilty towards Lance Luo. He was afraid his son would be sought out for revenge, so he hurriedly took Lance Luo out of the capital that very night. Since then, Lance Luo followed his master to train outside for 10 years. During those 10 years, he built an assassin organization called the Mingyuan Pavilion. In the video, the image of Lance Luo appeared clearly, suffering quite a bit of hardship due to practicing martial arts, eventually establishing the Mingyuan Pavilion. Pausing for a moment, Kwa Kwa continued to narrate. The Mingyuan Pavilion not only accepts assassination missions but also trades intelligence. The reputation of this organization grew bigger and bigger, but no one knew who the master behind it was. A few years ago, Lance Luo returned to the capital. As soon as he arrived, The Q family residents immediately received the news. Before long, they marched over to block the door, demanding he be handed over. Lord Philip agreed, saying that within 7 days he would give them a satisfactory explanation. Hearing this, the people of the Q family temporarily left. But everyone waited to see how Lord Philip would deal with it 7 days later. Lord Philip loved this son and did not want to hand him over, so he thought of a way to secretly take him out of the capital once again. However, this time the Key family was prepared, sending people to monitor Lord Philip closely. Now, even if Philip wanted to take his son away, he could no longer do it. Lance Luo told his father not to worry, he had his own way. In the video, his half-brother Mike Luo, the son of Lady Kylie, secretly informed the Key family that Lance Luo had returned. Before long, the Q family marched over, aggressively surrounding the Luo residence. Jiggy asked impatiently, "Then what happened?" Kwa continued, "Lance Luo had wandered outside for so many years and had long since forged a deep scheming mind, not revealing happiness or sadness on his face. He appeared indifferent, but in reality he had calculated everything beforehand. This time he returned to seek revenge. That year Lady Kylie relied on the power of the Q family to kill his mother, causing him to live without a mother since childhood, wandering everywhere and suffering enough bitterness and humiliation. He hated Lady Kylie, hated Mike Luo, and hated the entire Chi family. But the person he hated the most was his father, Lord Philip. All these things ultimately happened because Lord Philip could not control his lower body, causing the consequences seen today. When Lord Philip asked him how he planned to deal with it, Lance Luo did not answer. In the video, he still carried a playful appearance, but the depths of his eyes were cold as ice. Gigi shuddered looking at those eyes, getting goosebumps all over her body. Too scary. What did he do after that? Kwa smiled faintly. What kind of organization is the Mingyuan Pavilion? It specializes in murder missions. The Qi family dared to come to the door to cause trouble for Lance Luo. Were they seeking death? Before he could even act to take revenge, they automatically delivered themselves to his door. How could he miss this opportunity? In the video, Lance Luo gave a single signal, and immediately, more than 100 assassins of the Mingyuan Pavilion moved out simultaneously, ruthlessly exterminating the entire Qi family. Finally, he ordered his men to set fire, burning down the entire Qi family residence. This matter caused a shock throughout the capital at that time. The officials investigated for a long time but still could not find any clues. Kwa continued to narrate. Lord Philip vaguely guessed in his heart that the extermination of the Qi family was related to his son, but he had no evidence. Moreover, at that time Lance Luo was not yet 20 years old. How could he single-handedly exterminate the entire Qi family residence? One must know that in the Qi family residence, there were quite a few elite guards, not easy people to deal with. Thinking of this, Lord Philip gradually dismissed the suspicion in his heart. In the video, he often quietly observed his eldest son, then fell into deep thought, finally only able to shake his head. Lord Philip probed Lance Luo. Was the matter of the Q family done by you? Lance Luo pretended to be naive. Father thinks too highly of me. How could I have such great ability? If I truly did, I would not let people bully me to my doorstep like this. He even added, perhaps the Q family did too many immoral things, so they just received retribution. After saying that, his expression remained calm, neither blushing nor changing color, looking no different from an innocent person. Gigi exclaimed, Lance Luo's acting skills are too good. It is true that living in this world relies entirely on acting. Lord Philip completely did not know what kind of person his son had become. Kwa sighed, that is right. 10 years of separation. How could he know what Lance Luo had experienced? In Lord Philip's eyes, his son was still that pure child from the past, but he did not know that his son had long since turned into a poisonous snake. About a month later, the son of Lady Kylie, Mike Luo, was pursued by someone while going out and fell down a cliff. When he was found, he had become a fool. Jiggy could not believe there was such a coincidence in the world. This matter was definitely done by Lance Luo's order. Indeed, he was the one who ordered the killing. After Mike Luo became a fool, Lance Luo bribed the people in his courtyard, devising hundreds of schemes to torture his younger brother. Actually, Lance Luo originally wanted to act against Lord Philip as well, but eventually held back. In his heart, the source of all mistakes started with Lord Philip. However, after Lance Luo returned, the concern Lord Philip showed for him was not fake, so in the end, he could not bring himself to act. Just like that, Lord Philip was lucky enough to escape a calamity. With no more obstacles, Lance Luo just stayed in the capital, maintaining his previous appearance, mingling with the hedonistic playboys day and night, becoming the leader of the pack. It was precisely thanks to this cover that he blinded everyone. Although his past was difficult since he had accepted the order targeting her second brother, it could not be ignored. She was a person who clearly distinguished gratitude and grudges. Since she knew who acted, this debt must be calculated clearly. Kwa, tell me what I should do now. Of course, revenge. If I do not take a person, am I? Kwa supported the host. Host, when do we act? Gigi smiled softly. Soon. After hearing about Lanceluo's past, Prince Felix and Prince Travis also felt apprehensive. Under their command, there was no shortage of talented people, but facing the Mingyuan pavilion, they did not dare to act recklessly. It was just that they did not understand where Little Minister Song got the courage to dare confront the Mingyuan pavilion. Relying on Marquis Thomas Song's guards, or relying on the guards the Emperor sent to protect her. But thinking carefully, previously Tim Kai sent so many assassins to pursue Little Minister Song, yet she remained safe and sound. Perhaps Little Minister Song truly had some life-preserving method. Gigi stayed for a while, then wanted to return to the residence. Revenge still needed to be prepared thoroughly. After she left Lansin courtyard, a group of curious people also immediately walked out of the tea house. They had seen Little Minister Song and the two princes from afar, so they followed out of curiosity. They did not expect to witness such an earth-shattering story today. If this matter spread, it was feared someone would lose their life. Now that they knew the person behind the Mingyuan pavilion was Lanceluo, would they be silenced? Not daring to delay, as soon as Gigi left, they also hurriedly left this place of trouble. A moment later, Prince Felix and Prince Travis also prepared to leave. When going downstairs, they bumped into Lanceluo and his group of hedonistic playboys. Prince Felix and Prince Travis observed Lanceluo for a while. He still kept his frivolous appearance. It seemed he completely did not know what had just happened. If he had heard what they just said, it was feared he could not act like that. Lanceluo's group of playboys saw the two princes and hurriedly bowed. Prince Felix and Prince Travis nodded slightly, then left. Gigi returned to the residence and immediately started preparing the necessary medicinal materials. She asked Kwa, "Do you know where the Mingyuan pavilion is located?" "I know. The largest brothel in the capital, Madame Nina Ning's establishment, is Lanceluo's property. This establishment is a place to gather information, and the Mingyuan pavilion is located right underground, with the entrance in the backyard. In the video it is marked very clearly. The host will understand immediately after watching." Gigi nodded slightly, carefully watching the entire video segment, memorizing each location. But just thinking about this, she felt a headache. She was a daughter, and that place was a brothel. How could she enter? This matter, she feared, could only be helped by Big Brother Quincy Song. In the evening, Gigi went to find Quincy Song and saw he was still reading. Seeing her big brother, she could not help but worry, calling out to Kwa. "If I tell Big Brother I want him to take me into a brothel, will Big Brother drag me straight to Mother?" Quincy Song heard his sister's inner voice, and immediately frowned tightly. Although Gigi was usually not serious, she was sensible. This time proposing such an absurd request, he did not know if there was a reason. He decided to listen a bit more. If his sister could not state a legitimate reason, he would definitely report to Mother to have her strictly disciplined. At this moment, Kwa spoke up. "Host is going there for official business, not to do anything improper. Just explain the source clearly to Big Brother, he will surely take you." Gigi replied, "All right, let me try." Then she presented the request to go to Madame Nina's establishment, and also explained the reason to Quincy. Quincy was about to refuse. They would definitely take revenge for the second brother, but he absolutely could not let his sister get involved in such a place. But before he could open his mouth, Gigi's inner voice rang out. "Big Brother, do you not want to take me? Why haven't you said anything yet? If you don't take me, I will find a way myself. I must avenge my second brother. We definitely will not miss a single one." Quincy sighed softly, finally agreeing. If he did not take Gigi, letting this girl sneak out, with no one to protect her then, who knew what would happen? If he went along, at least he could protect her somewhat. Quincy ordered someone to bring a set of men's clothes for Gigi to change into. Thus, the two siblings set off together to Madame Nina's establishment. As soon as they entered the door, Gigi's eyes were not enough to look around. Right in the main hall was a large stage, on which dancers in clothes as thin as smoke swayed to a graceful dance, mesmerizing people's hearts. Gigi thought to herself, "Kwa, why do I feel like I returned to a modern bar? These vixens twist quite vigorously, don't they?" Kwa scolded. "Host, be a bit serious. Have you forgotten what you came here for?" Gigi replied, "I haven't forgotten, but looking at beauties doesn't affect anything." Kwa reminded, "Host, don't forget the saying that heroes have a hard time passing the beauty trap." Gigi retorted, "I am not doing anything. Can I just look?" I didn't say you couldn't, just reminding you, Jitty said. Alright, rest assured I won't forget. Since his divorce, Prince Travis has come to Madame Nina's establishment to drink every 3 days. Today he was toasting alone when he suddenly heard Little Minister Song's voice. Prince Travis thought he was hallucinating. How could it be? Why was Little Minister Song's voice here? Listening carefully for a while, he confirmed he did not mishear. He pushed open the private room door, stood in the third-floor corridor, and looked down at the main hall below, only to see a woman dressed in men's clothes standing before the stage. Prince Travis was slightly suspicious. Why was Little Minister Song here? Looking a bit closer, he saw Quincy standing next to Gigi. Prince Travis rubbed his eyes several times. Still not wrong. It was definitely the Quincy and Little Minister Song. A brother taking his sister to stroll in a brothel. If Minister Thomas Song knew about this, would he fly into a rage? Prince Travis lowered his voice and instructed his guard with a few sentences. The guard quickly left. Before long, the guard arrived beside Quincy, inviting the two siblings to the 3rd floor. On the way upstairs, Gigi suddenly saw a monk. What surprised her was that the monk was hugging a beautiful girl in each arm. Gigi exclaimed internally, Kwa, is that guy down there a monk? I even see the precept scars on his head. Kwa confirmed, Host, you are not mistaken, that is indeed a monk. Gigi sighed, oh my god, truly wine and meat pass through the intestines. Buddha remains in the heart. Left hand a beauty, right hand a scripture, failing neither the Tathagata nor the beauty. Truly knows how to enjoy life. This monk is really formidable. Hearing Gigi's inner thoughts, Prince Travis and Quincy could not help but look down. Indeed, down there the monk was hugging 2 beauties in his arms. Quincy coughed twice in embarrassment. He began to feel he should not have agreed to take his sister to such a place of wind and dust. Gigi was still so young, how could he let the girl witness this scene? Before he could finish blaming himself, he heard Gigi's inner voice again. Is Big Brother embarrassed? Big Brother, my pure self has surely never seen this scene before, right? Being embarrassed is understandable. Kwa asked, Host, aren't you embarrassed? Gigi scoffed, embarrassed my head. In my previous life, I hadn't eaten pork, but hadn't I seen pigs run? I've watched action movies from Japan countless times and they were all high-definition HD versions. How can these things compare to those movies? Prince Travis and Quincy stared wide-eyed, not understanding what the action movie Gigi mentioned was. Suddenly hearing Kwa exclaim, Host, I didn't expect you were also a scholar, having seen even that kind of thing. Truly makes me look at you with different eyes. But it makes sense, compared to the Spring Palace paintings of this time, they truly fall far behind. Hearing this, what else could Prince Travis and Quincy not understand? They naturally knew what Spring Palace paintings were. Based on the context, they guessed what the so-called action movie actually was. Prince Travis looked at Gigi in disbelief, while Quincy's face had turned extremely dark. How could my sister watch that kind of thing? Gigi looked up and saw Quincy's darkened face, then looked at Prince Travis's surprised expression. She scratched her head. Oh, did I speak out loud? Prince Travis, what is wrong with my big brother? Prince Travis coughed lightly twice, speaking calmly. Nothing. Quincy said irritably, hurry and roll in here. Gigi pouted, muttering, Kwa? What is wrong with my big brother? Clearly everything was fine, why did he suddenly get angry? Indeed, a man's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea, changing whenever he wants. Truly hard to fathom. Hearing this, Quincy's face darkened even more. Prince Travis could not help but burst into laughter. Quincy is a man of both civil and martial virtues. Since when did he have to suffer such grievance? And the person capable of provoking him to this extent, I fear, is only Little Minister Song. Unfortunately, this anger has nowhere to be vented. Gigi followed Quincy and Prince Travis into the private room. They had just settled down not long before the procuress led 10 graceful and charming girls in. The procuress was a woman of about 30, extremely flirtatious and beautiful. She waved a round fan, smiling charmingly. Oh my, I have never seen these 2 young masters before. Is it your first time visiting? I am not boasting, but the girls here are all top-class beauties of the capital, proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, painting, singing, and dancing. Nothing they are not skilled in. Their appearances surely you two can see clearly, everyone is a top-quality beauty. Prince Travis glanced at Quincy, smiling, this is the owner of the establishment. Madam Nina, young master, did any girl catch your eye? Quincy waved his hand, replying coldly, no need. Prince Travis laughed, coming to this place without beauty to accompany it. Isn't it a wasted trip? Before Quincy could speak, Gigi pointed at a girl and said loudly, I want her? Prince Travis and Quincy were simultaneously astonished. Prince Travis momentarily did not understand what Little Minister Song intended, but still nodded in agreement. All right. Madame Nina waved her fan slightly, half covering her charming face, her eyes twinkling with laughter, truly a person with a discerning eye. Sonia, come here. The woman named Sonia walked over gracefully, sat down next to Gigi, and gently poured wine. Prince Travis coughed twice, looking at Quincy. Young master song, why not choose one? Quincy's face was dark as he replied coldly, no need. Prince Travis did not force him, waving his hand to signal Madame Nina to lead the people away. Gigi held Sonia's hand, stroking it gently, clicking her tongue in praise. My sister's hand is both white and soft, smooth like this, making people reluctant to let go. Sonia covered her mouth and laughed softly, speaking gracefully. Little young master really knows how to tease people. After speaking, Gigi lifted Sonia's chin, blew a gentle breath, and teased, my sister's skin is so smooth it looks like water could burst out. I do not know what secret you use to maintain it so well. Skin like this must be very delicious. If I take a bite, I wonder what it will taste like. Sonia gave a bewitching smile. Does little young master want to try once? Before Gigi could reply, Quincy shouted, you dare. Where on earth did Gigi learn these messy things? Gigi rubbed the tip of her nose, muttering, I did not say I would kiss, just saying for fun. Prince Travis stared blankly at Gigi, thinking to himself, could it be that those movies even teach this kind of thing? Being scolded, Gigi lost interest and switched to asking, sister, how do you maintain your skin? Seeing her like this, Sonia found it interesting and replied gently, it is just some things I make myself when I am free. Compared to others, it is still very crude. I dare not show off. Oh, do you also like these things? I also have some understanding. So Gigi and Sonia enthusiastically discussed skincare secrets. Prince Travis and Quincy looked at each other, not bothering to mention the matter just now, only leisurely chatting a few sentences. Time just passed like that. Not knowing how long had passed, Gigi felt it was time, so she signaled for Sonia to withdraw, then spoke up, I want to go out for a bit. Quincy put down his wine glass, speaking up, just right, I also want to go. Let's go together. Prince Travis raised his eyebrows, thinking to himself, today the siblings came here definitely for another purpose. This prince must see what they actually intend to do. So he smiled and said, this prince also wants to go. Gigi glanced at the two, said nothing, and just stepped out. Gigi, Quincy, Prince Travis, along with Prince Travis's guard Bolt, 4 people slowly headed toward the backyard. To get to the backyard, one must pass the latrine. The 4 of them just walked straight. Outwardly, it looked like they were merely going to relieve themselves, so no one was suspicious. Passing the latrine, then entering the backyard, afraid there would be guards. Open the map to guide me, help me avoid the guards, and find the entrance to the secret passage smoothly. As soon as she finished speaking, a 3D holographic map of the backyard appeared on the screen in front of Gigi's forehead. On the map, the positions of the guards were constantly moving, clear as day. Gigi exclaimed in surprise, Quaqua, this map is wonderful. Like this, everything is in sight. Prince Travis and Quincy also stared at the map in astonishment. There was such a miraculous thing in this world. If this could be used on the battlefield, who knows how many casualties for soldiers would be reduced. But that thought only flashed through Prince Travis's mind. Under Quawa's guidance, the group quickly avoided the guards. It did not take much time to reach the entrance of the secret passage. Gigi followed the instructions to open the mechanism, and the secret passage gradually revealed itself. Prince Travis looked at the secret passage in amazement but asked nothing more. Gigi retrieved the antidote from her spatial storage, took a pill herself, then shared it with the 3 men, signaling them to drink it as well. Only after all 4 people had taken the medicine did they step into the secret passage. At this moment, the map on the screen in front of Gigi's forehead also changed, becoming a 3-dimensional map of the tunnel. Both sides of the tunnel walls had lamps lit. Gigi thought to herself, the range of the tunnel is limited. Surely we will encounter guards before long. Sure enough, they had just walked a short distance when they met a few people blocking the way. Before those people could even speak, Gigi waved her hand to release the poison, and in the blink of an eye, everyone went limp and fell. Along the way, they continued to encounter many other groups. But before those people could react, they were poisoned one by one and collapsed. Even so, there was still one guard who managed to send out an alarm signal before dying. Immediately, all the assassins in the tunnel rushed toward the 4 of them. In just the blink of an eye, all 4 were tightly surrounded by assassins. Gigi did not hesitate. She took out a handful of poison from her space and shared it with the other 3. At a glance, she estimated the number of assassins to be at least 1,000. The assassins did not bother with many words, they immediately rushed forward intending to capture them. But as soon as the poison was thrown out, large swaths of assassins staggered and fell. After just one wave of attack, the number of fallen assassins had reached several hundred. The remaining group did not dare to act blindly anymore. No one dared to casually approach the four of them. Initially, the assassins thought the opponent only had 4 people, so capturing them would be as easy as turning over a hand. They did not expect these 4 people to be proficient in using poison. Seeing this, the assassins no longer continued the siege but simultaneously withdrew to the opposite side, standing in neat rows. At such a long distance, the poison could not exert its effect, but the assassins had received orders to capture those 4 alive at all costs. There had never been a case where they suffered such a loss, with just 4 people daring to kill hundreds of their brothers. The assassins were furious. They simultaneously drew their hidden weapons and threw them at the 4 people without hesitation. But at the moment the hidden weapons flew 3 meters in front of them, a strange thing happened. All the hidden weapons seemed to be blocked by an invisible wall, then reflected back toward the throwers. As a result, the assassins who fired the hidden weapons were all hit, screaming miserably. This scene made the whole group pale with terror. They looked at the 4 people in fear, unable to help but be suspicious. What kind of background did these people have to possess such demonic methods? Quincy and the other 2 were also stunned. They guessed that Jiggy had used some method, but now was not the time to ask. Although the assassins were elite, they did not know which of the 4 people possessed this strange ability. After a while of fighting, the assassins discovered that Jiggy was the weak point in the group. They immediately switched targets, wanting to capture her to threaten the other 3. From there, the assassins no longer used hidden weapons but simultaneously swung ropes, whipping them a few times in the air, then launching them straight at her. Jiggy cursed in anger. "Damn it, you god-forsaken bunch really want to tie me up like livestock. You immoral bastards can all go die for me." But before the ropes could get close, they were blocked by the system's barrier and could not touch her. This time Jiggy was truly angry. She took out a gun from her space, and with just a thought, the gun immediately transformed into an RPG rocket launcher. She sneered coldly, hoisting the cannon onto her shoulder. "You bastards dare to treat this lady like livestock to be tied up. Today I will let you know who you have provoked." As soon as the words ended, the missile was fired. Boom, a terrifying explosion rang out, and the ground collapsed completely. As the ones who had not yet died struggled to get up, Jiggy switched weapons to a submachine gun. The cold muzzle aimed straight at the dying ones. The path was completely cleared by her. Just then, Quaqua's voice rang out, "Host, the commotion this time is too big. Madame Nina's establishment over there has turned into a mess. Leave here quickly, someone will surely arrive soon." However, Gigi's eyes still flashed with a hint of hesitation. "I haven't visited the warehouse on this side yet. I haven't looted the corpses yet." Quaqua cried out impatiently, "Host, it has come to this point and you still think about those things. Do you really consider money more important than life?" Jiggy replied briefly, "I know." Prince Travis and the other 2 looked at Jiggy. They still had not fully recovered from the scene just now. Gigi shouted loudly, "Why aren't you going yet? Waiting to be caught?" Only then did the 3 people startle awake. Quincy grabbed Jiggy by the collar, and they immediately rushed out from the collapsed ground, quickly running forward, heading straight for Madame Nina's establishment. Inside Madame Nina's establishment, it was chaotic to the extreme. Some people panicked and ran out of the brothel, while others curiously rushed toward the explosion, clearly wanting to watch the excitement. From a distance, Gigi saw Lance Luo and Madame Nina leading a group of people running toward the backyard. She rolled her eyes and called the system, "Qua, just now we didn't have time to rob the warehouse of the Mingyuan Pavilion, so where is the warehouse of Madame Nina's establishment located? While it is chaotic, let's make a trip." Hearing her excited voice, Quincy and Prince Travis were both speechless. Just now she killed over 1,000 people, yet at this moment, she was still in the mood to think about looting. System Quaqua also could not help but speak up, "Host, this move of fishing in troubled waters of yours is truly formidable." Quincy and Prince Travis continued to be silent. This system was also a troublemaker, indeed, like a master-like system. Both feared the world was not chaotic enough. Before long, a 3-dimensional map of the entire Madame Nina's establishment appeared on the screen in front of Gigi, with each room clearly marked. She exclaimed happily, "Quaqua, you are so thoughtful. With markings it is much easier to find." Then she turned her head toward Quincy and Prince Travis, blinking mischievously, "Big brother, Prince, are you too short of silver? Do you want to join me to experience a zero-cost shopping spree?" Before the 2 could open their mouths, Jigi continued on her own. "I knew you 2 were also short of money like me. Then no need to say more, let's go." Before Quincy and Prince Travis could react, Jigi rushed straight toward the warehouse. The two looked at each other, saying nothing, but finally quietly followed her. Although the entire Madame Nina's establishment was in chaos, the warehouse still had guards. Jiggy did not hesitate. She immediately took out poison and scattered it everywhere. The 6 experts, just upon detecting someone approaching, immediately fell down without having time to let out a single cry. Jiggy took out a pistol, recited a sound softly, and the gun immediately transformed into a silenced pistol. Bang! The lock fell to the ground and the warehouse door sprang open. Inside, it was piled with large and small chests, all precious goods. Jiggy opened a few chests to check and found they were full of jade, ancient paintings, and calligraphy. She was immediately excited. Quah quah, we are rich, we are rich. The system also nodded. Indeed, there were quite a few treasures. Prince Travis spoke up. Take advantage while no one has discovered us. Let's take a few things and leave here. He basically did not know Jiggy had a storage space, he had only seen her weapons transform. Jiggy said nothing more. The 4 people each took a few items and quickly left. But after walking a short distance, she used an excuse to return again, directly collecting the entire warehouse into her space. Afterward, she groped into Lancelot's room in Madame Nina's establishment. Indeed, the decorations in his room were all priceless items. Collect it all. Madame Nina's room also had quite a few treasures. Collect it clean. Wherever Jiggy went, as long as she saw valuable things, she immediately collected them into her space. After she finished scavenging, Quincy finally found her and scolded. Where did you run off to? I have been looking for you for half the day. Hurry back to the residence. Jiggy pulled his arm, giggling. Big brother, it is rare to have a chance to go out. We should also go to the backyard to watch the excitement. Look, the crowd over there is dense. It must be very interesting. Quincy rubbed his forehead, feeling helpless. What time is it now that you still crave watching excitement? Back to the residence immediately. Prince Travis was a person who liked watching fun and did not mind big matters. He laughed and said, Young Master Song, it is rare to see such a scene, why don't we go take a look together? Jiggy pulled Quincy's sleeve, acting coquettishly. Big brother, please. Quincy could not bear it anymore. He directly grabbed her by the collar and said to Prince Travis, No need. It is already late, Prince, we will take our leave first. Without waiting for Prince Travis to answer, Quincy carried Jiggy and decisively left Madame Nina's establishment. Prince Travis originally intended to go to the backyard to watch the excitement, but seeing the Song siblings had both left, he lost interest. He turned to the side and said to Bolt, We should also return to the residence. On the way back, Bolt mimicked the motion of carrying the rocket launcher and asked curiously, Prince, was that little Minister Song's weapon? What exactly is that weapon that can transform like that? It is too formidable. Prince Travis pondered for a moment, then spoke slowly. I am not sure either. This is the first time I have seen it, I have never heard of or seen it before. But you must keep your mouth shut about today's matter. If you reveal half a word, just wait to endure that girl's wrath. That girl holds grudges very easily. With that kind of weapon in hand, we are truly not her opponents. On this side, Jiggy was dragged straight back to the residence by the collar by Quincy. After changing clothes, Jiggy was preparing to wash her face and go to sleep when unexpectedly Bella reported, The eldest young master has arrived. Wasn't he just separated from her? Why did Big Brother come again? While Jiggy was still suspicious, Quincy walked in. He had changed into another set of clothes, sat down at the table, poured himself a cup of tea and drank leisurely. Jiggy's heart pounded. Quah quah, what is wrong with Big Brother? Didn't we just meet? Why look for me again? Quah quah replied, Who knows? Ask him and you will know. Jiggy said, Oh. Immediately, she flashed a bright smile, stepping forward flatteringly. Big Brother, didn't we just meet? Why do you miss me so quickly? What does your lovely sister have that makes you miss her so much? Quincy put down the teacup, glanced at her, and spoke sternly. Be a bit serious, stop smiling playfully. He asked directly, What exactly is your weapon? Where did you get it? Besides me, has anyone else seen it? 3 consecutive questions made Jiggy immediately become serious. She did not speak about the origin of the weapon, only replying, Father and the guards beside Father have seen it. The people the Emperor sent have also seen it. I guess mostly the Emperor also knows. Hearing this, Quincy asked no more. He only instructed, That thing is too heaven-defying, you must use it carefully. Understood, understood. Then rest early. After Quincy left, Jiggy patted her chest, sighing in relief. Scared me to death. Quah Quah said, Big Brother is just worried about you. You brought a weapon that can transform like that out. Even in modern times it is an earth-shattering thing, let alone in ancient times. Jiggy replied, I know. The next day, just as the morning court session began, Governor York Yang reported to Emperor Leon about the incident at Madame Nina's establishment last night. Reporting to your majesty, last night at Madame Nina's establishment, the most famous brothel in the capital, over 1,000 bodies were discovered underground. After investigation, the identities of these people were found to be extremely suspicious. According to initial speculation, this might be a group of secret guards or assassins secretly raised by someone. At this moment, Quaqua's voice rang out, "Host, last night not long after we left Madame Nina's establishment, Governor York led troops to surround the entire place and even took everyone present to the Yamen for interrogation." Jiggy exclaimed, "Luckily I ran fast. If I had been taken to the Yamen by Governor York and let Mother know I went to a brothel, she would definitely beat me to death." Lucky, truly lucky. The people around looked at her with strange eyes. Little Minister Song went to a brothel last night. Little Minister Song went to a brothel last night. Wait, there is a possibility. Maybe your father already knows about this? Marquise Thomas Song also looked at Gigi suspiciously. "Jiggy, since when did you go to the brothel last night?" "Why didn't I know?" Before they could finish expressing their surprise, another thought rang out in Gigi's heart. Governor York is indeed Governor York. Just by examining the scene, he immediately knew that those 1,000 people were all assassins, indeed formidable. And those people were all assassins of the Mingyuan Pavilion. That is right, Lance Luo, the master standing behind the Mingyuan Pavilion, saw his efforts of more than 10 years wiped out in the blink of an eye last night. Would he be angry enough to vomit blood? Everyone certainly cannot expect that Lance Luo's gentle appearance in front of others is actually all pretend. His Mingyuan Pavilion specializes in trading human lives, filling safes with silver. On the screen in front of Jiggy, the image of Lance Luo appeared, showing him always acting polite in front of the world, but behind his back, he ruthlessly ordered people to carry out countless murders and arsons. Jiggy thought for a bit and continued, "Madame Nina's establishment is also Lance Luo's property. Outwardly it is a brothel, but in reality, it is an organization that collects intelligence to sell news, pocketing heavy silver. People say Lance Luo is a hedonistic playboy, uneducated and jobless. Who would know? During the day he mingles with rich young masters, indulging in debauchery, but it is all a play he intentionally set up for the world to see. That is his disguise. At night, he frequents the brothel, not to waste money but to supervise his own property. He deceived everyone. Lord Philip Luo, I am afraid you also do not know your son is such a person." It truly fits that saying, life in this world relies entirely on acting. Lance Luo's acting skills are indeed not ordinary. For more than 10 years, he has never revealed a flaw. Such a character is truly not simple. In the video, during the day was the scene of him playing with the hedonistic young masters, lazy and useless. But at night he seemed to transform into another person. Madame Nina stood in front of him, bowing respectfully, calling him master with every word. Seeing those images, everyone gaped in shock. Who is Lance Luo? They all knew clearly, he was a notorious playboy of the capital, an expensive lesson that parents often reminded their children of. No one expected it was all a play he painstakingly arranged. Humans indeed cannot be judged by appearance alone. Lord Philip stared blankly at the screen, his eyes shaking incessantly. He seemed to want to look through the screen, to see the person in it clearly. The person in that video was so strange. Was that really his son? Just then, Quaqua's voice rang out again. A few years ago, there were several cold cases where the culprit was not found, among which quite a few were caused by the Mingyuan Pavilion. At that time, the emperor sent a deputy envoy, Lord Deputy, to investigate the tax embezzlement case in Jiangnan, but the Jiangnan official circles received the news in advance. They paid money to invite the Mingyuan Pavilion to act. The deputy envoy was assassinated on the road before even reaching Jiangnan. After that, the Jiangnan official circles repeatedly hired the Mingyuan Pavilion, killing quite a few officials sent by the emperor. The Mingyuan Pavilion only accepts money, not people. As long as the silver is thick enough, they can kill without principle, without limit. Old, young men, women, none are spared. Maybe one day someone buys Lord Philip's life, they will also act. In the video, scenes of the Mingyuan Pavilion committing murder and arson, blood everywhere, cruel to the extreme, were shown. Gigi shuddered. Truly, such an assassin organization exists right beside us. Just thinking about it makes one's spine chill. This time the Mingyuan Pavilion was destroyed. It is truly a matter worth celebrating. Quaqua spoke up again. The power of the Mingyuan Pavilion is extremely large. This time, only the headquarters in the capital was destroyed. Other branches still exist. Furthermore, last night when Governor York arrived at the scene, Lance Luo took advantage of the chaos to use his light footwork to escape. He is currently resting at the Luo residence. If the emperor immediately sends people to the Luo residence, surely he can be arrested. But they must be palace experts because Lance Luo's martial arts are very high, ordinary guards are basically not his opponents. Gigi gritted her teeth. Good. After the court session ends, I will report to father, definitely must let the emperor catch him. Absolutely cannot let him escape. If he escapes to a branch, the consequences will be unpredictable. If this guy goes crazy, who knows what he will do? He dared to act against my second brother. Even if he was not the mastermind, he was an accomplice, and accomplices deserve to die just the same. Quaquar agreed. Correct, Lance Luo cannot be forgiven. At this moment, Emperor Leon had already secretly signaled the hidden guards. The hidden guards quietly left. After the court session ended, Marquis Thomas Song's face was gloomy. Without saying a word upon returning to the residence, he immediately called Gigi into the study. As soon as she entered, Marquis Thomas Song asked in a low voice, "Yesterday you went to Madame Nina's establishment. Who took you?" Gigi rolled her eyes, panicking in her heart. How did father know she went to the brothel last night? Before she could think of how to answer, Marquis Thomas Song's voice rang out coldly, "Honestly confess. If not, do not blame me for punishing you severely." Gigi gritted her teeth, closed her eyes and finally betrayed Quincy. It was Big Brother. Marquis Thomas Song snorted coldly. "Get out to the ancestral hall and kneel." Before leaving, Gigi also reminded Marquis Thomas Song about Lance Luo's matter. That night when Quincy returned, he was also punished to go to the ancestral hall. When he pushed the door open and entered, he saw Gigi had already spread out several cushions, lying comfortably on them with her legs propped up high, eating snacks while leisurely enjoying herself. Seeing Quincy, she almost choked. She thought it was father or mother coming, but unexpectedly it was Big Brother. She immediately sighed in relief. She angrily blamed Quaqua. "Why didn't you remind me someone was coming?" Quaqua replied calmly, "I saw it was your big brother, so I didn't remind you." Gigi gritted her teeth. "Next time, no matter who it is, you must notify me in advance." Quaqua obediently replied, "Understood." Gigi patted her chest to calm herself. "Big brother, you scared me to death." She looked at him, asking suspiciously, "You just came back from the academy, why did you come here? Could it be you were also punished by father for kneeling in the ancestral hall?" Quincy said nothing, just quietly took a cushion and knelt down beside her. Only then did he slowly speak up, "Is this how you are punished to kneel?" Gigi pouted, putting on a serious look to speak nonsense. "This place worships the ancestors of our Song family. Seeing that I am such a lovely junior, how could they bear to let me kneel for too long? Just now I took a nap, and the ancestors appeared in a dream, saying that if I am tired, just lie down and rest." Hearing those words, the corner of Quincy's mouth twitched, asking coldly, "Do you think I will believe that? Hurry up and stand up to kneel properly." Gigi pouted, her voice full of grievance. "Big brother, after the court session ended, I came here a long time ago. I have knelt for a very long time. Let me lie down for a little longer." She tilted her head to look at her elder brother. "Big brother, have you eaten anything yet? Are you hungry?" "Still okay. Luckily Bella secretly brought me a plate of pastries." "Big brother, do you want to eat a bit to fill your stomach?" Outside the door, Marquis Thomas Song quietly listened to Gigi's voice, 100 emotions intertwined in his heart. He had already learned from Quincy the reason why the siblings went to Madame Nina Ning's establishment. Now he regretted his own rashness even more. Without understanding the source, he had punished Gigi to kneel in the ancestral hall. However, hearing the words she just said, and when Quincy opened the door, he saw her blatantly lying on the cushion with a carefree expression. All regret immediately vanished. This brat was still punished too lightly. Marquis Thomas Song snorted coldly, turning to leave the ancestral hall. The next morning, Gigi was shaken awake by Bella. "Miss, it is time for court." She yawned, saw her big brother still kneeling upright on one side, so she patted his shoulder, shaking her head and exclaiming, "Big brother, you being too honest is not necessarily a good thing." Finished speaking, she dusted off her wrinkled clothes, went out to return to her courtyard to change into official robes, then went to the imperial court. As soon as she entered the main hall, Quaqua's voice rang in her head. "Host, last night the emperor sent quite a few palace experts out of the palace to catch Lance Luo. Who would have expected his martial arts to be so high? To the point that several experts were injured before subduing him. Fearing he would escape, they cut the tendons in his hands and feet. Now he is just a crippled person locked in the celestial prison." Gigi raised her eyebrows, laughing gloatingly. "Indeed, it is the cycle of heavenly Tao. Heaven has never spared anyone. When they cut the tendons of my second brother's hands and feet back then, Lance Luo probably never expected this day would come. Serves him right." Suddenly she felt a sharp gaze staring at her. Turning her head to glance, it turned out to be Lord Philip. Gigi pouted, "What are you looking at me for? I didn't provoke you." If you are sick, go get treated. Lord Philip heard this and hurriedly withdrew his gaze, silently recording this debt in his heart. We still have a few days to calculate. Jiggy still did not know she had unintentionally made another enemy. Now that the person related to the matter of her second brother, Lance Luo, was finished, only Marquis Louis Lu remained. Qua Qua reported that Marquis Louis had recently been beaten by his mother to the point he could not leave his bed and was still recovering in the residence. Jiggy curled her lips in a faint smile. No rush, just let him recover, then I will slowly settle the score. Suddenly she saw Prince Barrett and asked, Qua Qua, why did he also come to court today? Qua Qua replied excitedly, Host, you don't know. Prince Barrett heard some news, knowing his wife is the eldest miss of the Wanjin Mountain Villa. So a few days ago he asked the emperor to grant a marriage, then ran off to propose to her. The people around had just stepped into the main hall and heard the conversation between Gigi and Qua Qua. They immediately felt there was big drama, not expecting to one day hear gossip about Prince Barrett. Gigi was curious. He really went to propose. So did he bring Bellabai back? Was he beaten by his future father-in-law? As soon as she finished speaking, an image of Bellabai and Prince Barrett suddenly appeared on the screen in her mind. Her tone was full of gloating, unable to hide the delight in others' misfortune. Everyone became even more certain that this matter indeed had drama. Qua Qua did not disappoint everyone's expectations and immediately said, Host, you don't know. This time Prince Barrett going to the Wanjin Mountain Villa truly opened people's eyes. Gigi immediately asked, Qua Qua, what happened? Speak quickly, Qua Qua replied. This time Prince Barrett went to propose. He was truly thick-skinned to the extreme. He brought his entire fortune, but as soon as he reached the gate of the Wanjin Mountain Villa, he was blocked. He wanted to see Master Bai, but the man basically refused to receive him. This time Prince Barrett came to propose, but Master Bai had long ordered that no one be allowed to report this news to Bellabai. Prince Barrett had guessed the future father-in-law's attitude, but he was not discouraged, preparing his spirit for a long-term proposal. He truly knew no shame, setting up a tent right in front of the gate of the Wanjian Mountain Villa, persistently clinging and refusing to leave. On the screen appeared the image of Prince Barrett kneeling in front of the mountain villa's door, loudly expressing his sincerity, so noisy that everyone knew. Finally, no matter how it was hidden, Bellabai still found out. Prince Barrett knelt for several days straight, kneeling until he fainted. When Bellabai heard the news, her heart ached like it was being cut, and finally, she agreed to come out to meet him. As soon as Prince Barrett saw her, he hugged her tightly and would not let go, earnestly expressing his love and longing. He said pitifully, I can lose everything, but I cannot lose you, Bellabai. You cannot leave me. His appearance at this moment was no different from an infatuated person being abandoned. Yet Bellabai was clearly the heartless and irresponsible one. Everyone stared blankly at the screen. Was this really Prince Barrett, the person who once roamed the battlefield, making enemies tremble at the mention of his name? They dared not look anymore. It was truly too embarrassing. They simultaneously turned to look at Prince Barrett. Prince Barrett also felt embarrassed, not expecting the things he did to be exposed like this. Gigi almost burst into laughter. Being a prince of war, to marry a wife, he unexpectedly even used the ploy of self-torment. And this method was obviously very useful. At least it was even more useful for Bellabai. She had originally admired Prince Barrett for a long time. Now hearing his sweet words, her heart could not help but soften. Bellabai immediately went to find Master Bai, saying she wanted to marry Prince Barrett. Master Bai was so angry he almost vomited blood. Before it was fine, yet having just met Prince Barrett once, she insisted on marrying him. In the video, as soon as Master Bai knew Prince Barrett dared to use the ploy of self-torment on his daughter, he flew into a rage. Thinking of this matter, the fire of anger in his heart flared up even more. He immediately rushed to the front of the mountain villa, attacking Prince Barrett. Both were experts, so for a moment, it was hard to determine the winner. Just then, Bellabai ran over from a distance. As soon as Prince Barrett saw her, he lost his guard for a moment. Master Bai seized that opportunity to strike. Prince Barrett did not dodge and was hit by a palm strike, flying far away. He fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. As soon as Bellabai arrived, she saw that scene. She immediately burst into tears, hurriedly helping Prince Barrett up, letting him lean into her embrace, then looked up at her father to question, Father, must you beat him to death? If he dies, I will not live either. Master Bai shook with anger. Yet Prince Barrett, the one who was just heavily injured, blatantly revealed a challenging gaze. Master Bai became even more angry, intending to rush up to strike again, but Bellabai blocked in front of Prince Barrett. Looking at the two of them, Master Bai gritted his teeth in hatred, But in the end, he did not make a move anymore. The ministers watched the scene in the video with gaping mouths. Could the Prince Barrett they knew be shameless to this extent? Even his father-in-law was deceived. It was truly unbelievable. Seeing this, Jiggy could not help but sigh, "Oh my, for a beauty, he doesn't even need a face anymore." Using the ploy of self-torment again and again, worthy of the name Prince of War. Is he not afraid Master Bai will get angry and in the end, he still won't be able to marry her? But no matter how angry Master Bai was, after calming down, he gradually thought it through. After all, he only had this one daughter. If the two of them truly loved each other, he could not be the one to separate the Mandarin ducks. Thus, Bella Bai and Prince Barrett were expelled from the Wanzhen Mountain Villa. Master Bai made it clear that from now on, Bella Bai was no longer the eldest miss of the Wanzhen Mountain Villa, nor was she allowed to use the mountain villa's name to do anything. He considered it as if he had never given birth to this daughter. In the video, Master Bai watched their retreating figures with great reluctance, his heart feeling extremely bitter. He felt that he was a cruel person preventing the young couple, as if he had committed a heinous crime. But he had no other choice, because he could not destroy the hundreds of years of foundation of the Wanjian Mountain Villa just for one daughter. The Jianghu was perilous. If outsiders knew the mountain villa had relations with the imperial court, he feared they would be isolated. By then, other forces would simultaneously move against the Wanzhen Mountain Villa. Therefore, cutting off relations with Bella Bai was the only way. Even so, he still quietly prepared a very generous dowry for her. Just like that, Bella Bai followed Prince Barrett back to the capital. Jiggy sighed again. Could this be ignoring everything for the sake of love, severing ties with her father just for a man? She paid such a high price, hoping Prince Barrett would be faithful for a lifetime and not betray her. Well, hope so. But anyway, we are just outsiders, watching the excitement is fine, no need to judge right or wrong. For a love like this, how can outsiders say clearly who is right and who is wrong? Just watching and sighing is enough. Jiggy is not bad, we just need to be a crowd of melon-eating masses. Kwa Kwa confirmed, that is right. Currently, Bella Bai is staying in a residence in the capital. This place is also part of the dowry Master Bai prepared for her. In another month, Bella Bai will marry into Prince Barrett's residence from here. In the video segment, Bella Bai was in a large courtyard, checking her wedding dowry, unable to hide the happiness in her eyes. The melon regarding Prince Barrett was finished, but everyone still felt unsatisfied. Prince Barrett in that video segment was truly seen by them for the first time, a high-altitude flower falling into the mortal world just like that. However, after descending to Earth, Prince Barrett really knew how to integrate with the human world. The gossip about Prince Barrett was finished, and Gigi's inner voice did not sound anymore. The officials also withdrew their thoughts and began to seriously discuss official business. At this moment, the Minister of Revenue, Minister Harold Chun, stepped forward and spoke respectfully. Your Majesty, a few days ago, the Heavenly Profound Kingdom sent a message saying that the price of white sugar sold to the Deep Ong Kingdom and Long Yuan Kingdom remains the same as every year, but the price of white sugar sold to our Heavenly Phoenix Kingdom has increased fivefold. I ask for an edict on whether we should reduce the amount of white sugar purchased this year or keep it the same as every year. If kept the same, the budget will have to increase significantly. Hearing this, the officials immediately discussed it excitedly. White sugar differs from salt as it is not an essential item, but clearly, the Heavenly Profound Kingdom is intentionally targeting our Heavenly Phoenix Kingdom. This is obviously them wanting to retaliate. This year, the salt we produced has even higher quality than theirs, yet the price is equal. The other two countries ordered a lot of salt from the Heavenly Phoenix Kingdom, so the Heavenly Profound Kingdom is furious that we stole their salt business. Not to mention, not long ago, we also captured their Grand Tutor's son, Paul Fan, plus the Stone Prince Daniel Tang and that group of spies. These people helped us exchange for quite a bit of silver from the Heavenly Profound Kingdom. Now this action of the Heavenly Profound Kingdom is clearly targeting us. Jijie asked suspiciously. Kwa Kwa, before now I never paid attention to white sugar. Do all three countries have their white sugar production controlled by the Heavenly Profound Kingdom? As soon as Jijie's inner voice rang out, everyone immediately pricked up their ears to listen. Ah right, how could they forget Little Minister Song? Maybe Little Minister Song has a solution, they must listen carefully. Kwa Kwa replied. How should I say this? Actually, on this continent, all four countries can produce sugar, but this type of sugar is what we call red sugar in the ancient manual method. All four countries have ways to make red sugar, but to refine it into white sugar, only the Heavenly Profound Kingdom holds this technique. Host. Actually, the sugar the heavenly profound kingdom produces is not pure white but still carries a bit of yellow color. Its quality is basically not pure, far inferior compared to the white sugar of our modern times. Even so, this low-quality white sugar is still the favorite item of wealthy families. As that official just said, white sugar is not an essential item and the price is expensive. Ordinary people basically cannot afford it, only prestigious families and wealthy merchants can buy it for use. Therefore, the amount of white sugar that the 3 countries buy from the heavenly profound kingdom is also limited. The heavenly profound kingdom relies on the fact that only they hold this technique, so they took the opportunity to target the heavenly phoenix kingdom, raising the price of white sugar to retaliate against us. On the screen above Gigi's head appeared the image of the white sugar that the heavenly profound kingdom manufactured. This was not white sugar, the color was pale yellow, it should be called yellow sugar to be correct. Immediately after, the image of modern white sugar also appeared, the color white as snow, extremely bright. The officials stared wide-eyed, looking intently at that white sugar, their eyeballs almost falling out. Too white to an unbelievable degree. Gigi heard Kwa's explanation, and anger rose within her. It is the heavenly profound kingdom again. This damned bunch from the heavenly profound kingdom causes trouble again. Can't they endure a day without acting like demons? Very well, if it is like that, then do not blame me for being impolite. Right, Kwa, besides making sugar and making salt, does the heavenly profound kingdom have any other exclusive techniques that the other 3 countries do not have? No. This time we will block all their living paths. That half-baked bunch still thinks they are formidable. Acting pretentious truly makes people's eyes sore. This lady will definitely make them unable to lift their heads this time. Kwa replied, Host, the only exclusive techniques of the heavenly profound kingdom are making salt and making sugar, there is nothing else they can take out to show off. This time we definitely cannot spare them. Seeing them jump out to cause trouble really makes people annoyed. Host, what do we do next? Gigi replied, what else can I do? Of course, take action. Others do not have the technique to refine white sugar, but we do. The technique I use creates sugar as white as snow, that is the true white sugar. That yellow stuff dares to be called white sugar. Clearly it is just low-quality goods. Hearing Little Minister Song say that she had a way to refine white sugar, and furthermore the sugar made was white as snow, everyone was extremely excited. They trusted Little Minister Song, the technique she brought before had never disappointed them. So from now on, our heavenly phoenix kingdom will no longer have to look at the heavenly profound kingdom's face. Correct, that is just low-quality goods. People in the world just have never seen true white sugar, so they blindly follow that inferior stuff. If they could see the white sugar we manufacture, who would still bother with that yellow type? Gigi said enthusiastically. First I will organize the sugar refining method. When the court session ends and I return to the residence, I will print it out and give it to Father so you can present it to the Emperor. We must make those turtles in the heavenly profound kingdom die of anger. Doesn't the heavenly profound kingdom want to raise the price of white sugar? Let them raise it. Even if they raise it 10 times, 20 times, or even 50 times, we will not bother buying. We will not be fools letting them oppress us. By then, we will produce white sugar ourselves and sell it to the remaining 2 countries. Our sugar has good quality, pure color, and high sweetness. We must snatch the market of the heavenly profound kingdom, making them vomit blood in anger. Good, decided like that. Everyone listened to Gigi's heroic words, imagining the scene in the future where they could stand proudly before the court of the heavenly profound kingdom without being oppressed anymore. The officials in the court still pretended to discuss the white sugar matter. Half a day later, the emperor slowly spoke up. I know about this matter. I still need to think more. The subjects all understood the meaning, but Gigi was impatient. Your Majesty, you absolutely cannot be muddled and agree to the unreasonable request of the heavenly profound kingdom. We have money, but we are not fools, we cannot waste it like that. Your Majesty, please wait a moment. Wait for me to finish organizing the documents after court, my father will immediately present the white sugar refining method. Please wait a little longer, Your Majesty. By Gigi's ear, Kwa's voice rang out, Host, do not be impatient. As soon as the court session ends, we will return to the residence to do it immediately. Surely we will present it in time. The subjects heard Little Minister Song's sincere words and could not help but sigh with emotion. They did not expect Little Minister Song to be so patriotic, anxious and restless for fear the heavenly phoenix kingdom would suffer a loss. They really wanted to say one sentence. Little Minister Song, do not worry. The Emperor has long been waiting for your sugar refining method, just take your time. Unfortunately, no one dared to say these words. After the court session ended, Jiggy immediately urged the coachman to speed up, quickly returning to the residence. She did not even have time to change her official uniform before hurriedly ordering Kwa Kwa to print the documents. Seeing her father, Marquis Thomas Song carefully collected the newly printed documents. Only then did Gigi sigh in relief, leaving the study to go straight to the dining room. Just like that, 10 days passed. Today was the day the people looked forward to the most, the weekend rest day. Originally planning not to go to court today, having stayed up late last night to read picture books, she could sleep in a bit this morning. But unexpectedly, right at the time she usually went to court, Jigi woke up naturally. Habit was indeed a scary thing. By the time she realized today was a rest day, she immediately curled up in the blanket again. However, no matter how hard she tried, she could not fall back asleep. Gigi felt helpless, unable to help but curse herself, truly having blessings but not knowing how to enjoy them. Definitely the fate of a lifelong worker. After breakfast, Gigi saw Quincy getting ready to go out, so she asked, "Big brother, where do you intend to go?" "I am going to participate in the poetry meet." Hearing this, Gigi's eyes immediately lit up. She had never witnessed an ancient poetry meet. So she hurriedly asked, "Big brother, can you take me along?" Quincy flatly refused. "No. This sister is too good at causing trouble. Quincy has endured enough. If he takes her along today, who knows what earth-shattering event will happen." But Jiggy was not angry at all, she just smiled. "Big brother, take me along. If you don't take me, I will tell Sister Linda about you going to the brothel a few days ago. By then, you can slowly explain to your future sister-in-law." Quincy shouted angrily, "Jiggy, you dare. Big brother, take me along and I won't tell Sister Linda anymore." Quincy gritted his teeth. "Jiggy, can you be a bit more shameless? Didn't I go to the brothel because you begged me to take you? How can you turn your face so quickly?" Jiggy immediately cut him off. "Big brother, regardless of the reason, you just need to say straight out whether you went to the brothel or not." Quincy was embarrassed, not knowing how to answer correctly. Jiggy laughed until she almost fell off the chair. "Big brother, stop struggling, better to just obediently admit defeat." Quincy looked at his sister and immediately wilted. "Fine, go change your clothes quickly. I will only wait for you for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, past that time I won't wait." "All right, big brother, you are indeed a good elder brother." Jiggy spoke while hurriedly running away. Quincy shook his head. Being a big brother like him was truly too miserable. Before long, Gigi appeared in front of Quincy. The two got on the carriage. The carriage rocked and swayed, unknown how long it traveled, finally stopping. This time they went to another tea house in the capital. This place was one of the 3 most famous tea houses in the capital. Jingmijai was famous for storytellers. Lanjin Courtyard was famous for tea ceremony classics. Listening to the Rain Pavilion was famous for poetry and painting, attracting many literati. Jigi had visited the first 2 tea houses. Today they came to the 3rd place, listening to the Rain Pavilion. As soon as they entered the door, a scene of groups of 3 or 5 gathering appeared before their eyes, seemingly discussing something excitedly. Gigi's eyes shone, curiously observing everywhere. This was the first time she set foot in this place. Quincy reminded, "Jigi, this place is crowded, remember to stick close to big brother." Jigi exclaimed, "This place is truly too lively." Jigi pointed at the wall and asked, "What are those small notebooks hanging up there?" Kwaka replied, "The host is talking about that. Those who love making poetry can give themselves a pen name, then use that pen name to write poetry in the small notebook, hanging it on the wall for others to appreciate. Some people will leave comments after reading. Additionally, framed poems are hanging on the wall. Those are classic works of the champions of the poetry meets over the years." Jigi nodded. "So that is how it is." Quincy led Gigi to find his friends. Gigi also knew those 2 people. One was Simon Shio, the grandson of the current grand tutor. The other was Gary Cao, from the lineage of the secretariat director. Previously, Jigi had dined with them. Gigi said happily, "I didn't expect to meet the 2 young masters today, especially Gary, who loves making poetry so much that he even has to recite a poem when going to the latrine. Today he will surely have a chance to show off his talent." Simon Shao and Gary did not expect Quincy to bring the young lady of the Song family here. Hearing her words, Gary's face immediately turned red. That embarrassing matter from that year, could it be that he cannot escape it in this lifetime? Just because of one time at the restaurant, while going to the latrine, he casually recited a poem, and it became famous throughout the academy. Since then, whenever anyone mentions him, they invariably drag this matter out to tease. Jigi did not pay attention to his mood, only asking Quincy curiously, "Big brother, this place is so crowded, is it like this every day?" Quincy explained, "This place is normally already very crowded, But today I fear it is even livelier, because today is the day the 7th round of the poetry meet at Listening to the Rain Pavilion takes place. Jiggy suddenly understood. So that is how it is? Kwa Kwa suddenly asked. Host, do you want to participate? Jiggy smiled faintly. Forget it, I have no interest in these competitions, I only came to watch the excitement. No matter what, I am okay at other things, but reciting poems and matching couplets is truly not my strong suit. Kwa Kwa still did not give up. You have come to ancient times, won't you try once? Moreover, this poetry meet is not simply a competition of poetry. Jiggy frowned. What do you mean? Kwa explained. The poetry meet will take place in 4 rounds. The first round is a painting competition. Only those who achieve a rank qualify to enter the second round, the memory test. Next, those who pass the second round will enter the third round, the math test. Finally is the poetry competition. Only by winning the final round are you considered the champion of this poetry meet. Jiggy was astonished. I thought it was simply a poetry competition. I did not expect there to be up to 4 rounds of testing. Kwa persisted in asking, does the host not want to try her strength? Jiggy flatly refused. I won't participate, just watching for fun is enough. She had not even finished her sentence when Kwa Kwa hurriedly interrupted. Host, I see Marquis Louis Liu. Jiggy was immediately excited. Where is he? Kwa Kwa replied, 5 tables away to the right. The person drinking tea there is him. Hearing that, Jiggy looked in the direction Kwa Kwa pointed and indeed saw Marquis Louis. Marquis Louis carried the appearance of a gentle and elegant young master, attracting quite a few silent gazes from the young ladies in the tea house. However, inside Gigi's head, words full of killing intent rang out. This dog thief pretends to look quite human, doesn't he? A person with a wolf's heart and dog's lungs like him finally agreed to show his face. This young lady has waited for this day for a very long time. Looking at that confident expression, it seems today he came to compete for the position of champion in the poetry meet. Isn't he the one who values the result of the competition the most? Kwa, I take back what I said earlier. I want to participate in this poetry meet. Hearing that, Quincy's eyes immediately became sharp and cold, looking toward Marquis Louis. Sure enough, Marquis Louis was still sitting in his place. Beside him, a guard stood attending. Quincy understood Gigi's personality well. Even an accomplice like Lance Luo could not escape her hands, let alone this hateful Marquis Louis. He also wanted to see how Jiggy intended to deal with him. His job was just to protect his sister thoroughly. Marquis Louis suddenly felt a malicious gaze stopping on him. He looked around but discovered nothing unusual. A while ago, he had to stay home to recover from injuries, but he still heard news about the destruction of the Mingyuan Pavilion. The master of the Mingyuan Pavilion, Lance Luo, had been arrested. He never expected that the person behind the Mingyuan Pavilion was Lance Luo, the stupid guy he always looked down on. The person who acted to eliminate the Mingyuan Pavilion was definitely not ordinary. Recently, he always felt uneasy, as if something was quietly weighing on his heart. Marquis Louis had just been able to get out of bed for a few days when he heard today was the day Listening to the Rain Pavilion organized the 7th poetry meet. So he immediately came here. Every time Listening to the Rain Pavilion organizes a poetry meet, teachers from prestigious academies and great scholars all attend. If he could win the championship here, it would be extremely beneficial for his future, so this time he definitely had to participate. On the 2nd floor of the tea house, at this moment, a young man appeared. Looking closely, wasn't this person the 4th prince, Prince Frederick? Could it be that Listening to the Rain Pavilion was the property of Prince Frederick? As soon as Prince Frederick appeared, the entire tea house immediately fell silent. Everyone stood up simultaneously to bow. Greetings, 4th prince. Prince Frederick raised his hand slightly, at ease. Everyone then stood up straight. Prince Frederick spoke again. Welcome, talented scholars and beauties, to Listening to the Rain Pavilion to participate in the 7th poetry meet. The poetry meet will consist of 4 rounds. Painting, zither skills, mathematics, and poetry composition. Everyone surely knows the rules clearly, so this prince will not say much more. Hereafter, I would like to introduce the judges of today's competition. The first is the current Grand Tutor Shan Xiao. The second is the headmaster of the Imperial Academy, Headmaster Louis Liu. The third is the headmaster of Green Mountain Academy, Headmaster Tony Tao. The fourth is the headmaster of Spirit Mountain Academy, Headmaster Jack Zhang. Gigi's eyes widened in surprise. Wow, this lineup is truly not small, entirely big figures. She felt a bit guilty, turning to ask, Kwa, with my level, will it be okay? System Kwa immediately spoke up. Host dropped the word will. You must believe in yourself, you can definitely do it. Moreover, aren't we here to teach Marquis Louis a lesson? You cannot withdraw? Mentioning Marquis Louis, Jiggy immediately returned to high spirits. She quickly thought about how to respond to the first round of the painting competition. Competing in ink wash painting with ancient people, she certainly could not win, but she could use unique modern painting types. In her previous life, she liked manga very much, and because of that hobby, she spent money to learn drawing, and her level was not bad. However, in this competition, manga obviously was not suitable, so only the sketching style remained that she could use. Mentioning sketching, it was also thanks to a fateful chance that she liked this genre. When she was in her previous life, her team once received orders from superiors to hunt down a criminal organization. The head of the organization was extremely cunning, never revealing his true face. With no other way, her team was forced to ask an expert to sketch his portrait based on descriptions. As a result, thanks to that sketch, they quickly caught the criminal and his accomplices. Since then, she began to have a special interest in sketching, even spending time seriously researching and studying. She had practiced drawing for many years and could sketch a character's portrait based on description. By the time Gigi came back to her senses, the painting competition was about to begin. She walked to a table, observed the brush and ink, then turned to speak to the attendant beside her. "Excuse me, little brother, please help me get a charcoal stick." The attendant said nothing, only silently ordering someone to fetch it. Before long, the charcoal stick was brought over. Gigi rolled up her sleeves, preparing to start drawing. But who to draw? She looked around. At this moment, Quincy had started lowering his brush to paint. In that case, draw, big brother. Gigi tilted her head to look at Quincy, then began to sketch. The rule of the competition was to complete the work within half an hour. Just counting the painting section, there were more than 200 participants. Prince Frederick and the judges walked back and forth among the candidates. Those who could participate in this competition were all people full of talent and learning. Looking at each painting, the judges constantly nodded in praise. They stopped in front of Gigi's place. Seeing the brush strokes they had never encountered before, everyone stood aside to observe carefully. They could recognize this was a portrait step, but currently, there were only sketch lines, unable to see who the person in the painting was. No one disturbed her, everyone quietly left, continuing to examine the works of other candidates. It was not until they had looked through all the drawings of the candidates in the examination field that they returned to Gigi's place. Upon looking, everyone was stunned. On the paper, the shape of Quincy appeared clearly. The judges looked at the painting, then turned to look at Quincy standing next to it. Truly no different from each other, exactly as if carved out. At this moment, Gigi was still continuing to meticulously perfect each detail. Under her pen strokes, Quincy's demeanor and characteristics became even more vivid and lifelike. The judges surrounded her, no one left. They stared with mouths agape, attentively watching each line being put down. Other candidates also began to be curious. Seeing the expressions of the judges, they could not help but wonder, what exactly did Gigi draw that could make these lords lose their composure like that? Quincy unintentionally glanced at the painting and immediately widened his eyes. Is this me? It is too similar, exactly as if someone stamped him onto the paper. He never knew Gigi had painting talent of this level. This sister of his truly hid too deeply. After completing the drawing, Gigi signed her name next to the work. Looking at the result in front of her, she nodded in satisfaction. But when she turned around, she discovered the judges had been standing right behind her for who knows how long, startling her so much she almost jumped up. Gigi asked, "Quaqua, why are the lords standing behind me like this? How long have they been standing here?" Quaqua replied, "A very long time." Gigi complained, "Why didn't you remind me?" Quaqua said, "You were drawing too intently, I couldn't bear to disturb you." Before she could react, Grand Tutor Shan Xiao stepped forward, nodding continuously while looking at the painting. "Good, good, truly very good." The other judges also did not spare words of praise. This painting was truly excellent. Just then, half an hour passed and the exam time ended. The judges regretfully took their eyes off the painting, turning to the front to start grading all the works. Another half hour passed, and the final result was announced. The person ranking first was none other than Gigi. To avoid controversy, the works of the top 10 people were publicly displayed. When everyone saw Gigi's painting, the entire hall was immediately stunned. The portrait step of Quincy was incredibly realistic, even each strand of hair was clear, natural as if real. Those who considered themselves to have excellent painting talent had to silently admit that no matter how well they drew, they could not reach this level. Gigi's position as champion was undisputed. Second place was Quincy, his painting was Autumn Mountain After the Rain. Third place was Simon Shao drawing a scene of a teenager racing a horse. Fourth place was Gary with the work, Wealthy Peony. Fifth place was Marquise Lewis with the painting, Maid Picking Lotus. It must be admitted that Marquise Lewis was also an outstanding talent. Jiggy looked up and saw Marquise Lewis's hateful gaze staring tightly toward her and the people beside her. Meeting his gaze, she smiled faintly, gave a thumbs up, then turned it upside down, using her foot to lightly grind on the ground. At the same time, she moved her lips, making no sound, but clearly those two words were trash. Marquise Lewis was stunned for a moment, then realized she was calling him trash. His face immediately turned black. He began to suspect that perhaps the Song family knew about what he did to Harry. Otherwise, why would Jiggy have this attitude toward him? But what if they knew? Without evidence, they could do nothing to him. He always thought the Song family was full of upright people who would not touch him without evidence in hand. But what he did not know was that Jiggy was not the type of person who followed common sense. Even without evidence, as long as she determined he did it, she would have a way to make him taste suffering. After mocking him, Jiggy did not bother to pay attention to him anymore, withdrawing her gaze and quietly waiting for the next round. She did not fear Marquise Lewis's revenge. She even hoped he would come to cause trouble with her. As for Marquise Lewis, he gritted his teeth, glaring angrily at her. The fire of anger in his eyes seemed about to turn into a solid entity. On this side, the second round of competition quickly began. Speaking of the zither, previously Lady Nancy Song had invited a famous zither master to teach Linda Song and Jiggy. Linda Song did not need to be discussed. She was a typical daughter of a noble family, learning whatever the master taught without ever neglecting it. Jiggy was different. She did not like playing the zither, but she could not escape a strict master. Do not think that because it was a female master, she would be lenient. This master struck very heavily. If one did not learn well, she would hit the hands. Initially, Jiggy wanted to avoid learning, but after being beaten a few times, she obediently accepted it to avoid physical pain. Her nature was lazy when uninterested, but if she wanted to learn, she would focus with all her might, serious as if putting all her effort into studying for the imperial examination. Thanks to that, her zither skills also had some achievements. Previously, the songs the master taught were all famous classics like Fisherman's Song at Dusk, High Mountains and Flowing Water, or Jackdaws Playing in the Water, which almost every young master and lady of noble families had learned. Jiggy knew that if she kept playing those songs there would be nothing new, and it would be hard to win. The ancients had good skills, so to beat them there had to be a difference. That difference was choosing a song no one had ever heard. She recalled songs from her previous life and finally chose Blue and White Porcelain. Very quickly, it was Jiggy's turn to perform. She stepped up, sat upright and slowly raised her hands. Melodious zither sounds flowed from her fingertips like a flowing stream, echoing throughout the hall. Everyone initially thought it would just be familiar songs, but when the melody played, everyone was stunned. This zither sound was completely different from what they had heard before. The sound was like a cool breeze in a mountain valley, gently brushing past everyone's soul. Each note was like a small spirit gracefully dancing on the strings. Exquisite skills, wonderful music, combined with the young girl concentrating on playing the zither, all blended into a beautiful picture. Quite a few people closed their eyes to listen, their hearts seemingly sinking into a dreamlike world, their state of mind becoming peaceful and harmonious. The resounding zither sound made people's hearts relaxed, and troubles vanished like clouds and smoke. When the song ended, the entire hall was silent, and for a long time, no one recovered their senses. It was not until a few pioneering judges clapped that everyone woke up, followed by a round of thunderous applause. Jiggy stood up to leave, and everyone's eyes followed her figure. Quincy looked at his sister, and surprise rose in his heart. The sister he always thought was lazy and not serious brought him one surprise after another today. It turned out she was truly a person of immeasurable depth. Not taking action was one thing, but once she acted, she shocked everyone. Simon Chow nudged Quincy with his elbow, laughing. "Little Minister Song, your sister is truly formidable. You guys hit her too well, we didn't hear even a bit of news." Quincy could say that even he did not know. He himself saw it for the first time today. Gary blushed and asked Jiggy softly, "Little Minister Song, what was that song just now?" "I have never heard of it, it was truly very good. Can I ask for guidance later?" Jiggy nodded. "That song is called Blue and White Porcelain. It is a song composed by a senior. I was lucky enough to learn it. If you like it, I can transcribe the music score for you." Hearing this, Gary was extremely excited. "Can you really give me the music score?" "Good." In this era, music scores were usually not easily spread outside. Jiggy being so generous was completely unexpected to Gary. Hearing this, Simon Chow also hurriedly chimed in, "Little Minister Song, can you give me a copy too?" "Fine." Quincy looked at his two fellow students surrounding his sister and could not help but feel annoyed, glaring and shouting, "Get lost, get lost, get lost. This is my sister. Don't you have sisters in your residence? Go find your own sisters," Simon Xiao teased, stepping closer to him. "Our relationship is so good. Isn't your sister also my sister?" Gary also chimed in, "That is right, Little Minister Song is also our sister." Quincy had never seen two such shameless guys, daring to openly fight for his sister with him, scolding angrily, "You two shameless bastards, stay away from my sister." Jiggy looked at the three people in front of her, shaking her head helplessly. In her eyes, music was originally something for everyone to enjoy together. There was no need to hide it. Not unexpectedly, in this zither round, Jiggy won first place again. Marquis Louis only ranked fourth. When Gigi's eyes met Marquis Louis again, he was looking at her coldly, his eyes full of gloom and evil energy. She did not dodge or avoid, looking directly at him. The corners of her lips bloomed into a brilliant smile, revealing white teeth. Then she moved her lips slightly, making no sound, but clearly those words were trash. Marquis Louis saw that blatant provocation, and his fists clenched unconsciously. After provoking him, Gigi turned her head away, not paying attention to him anymore, continuing to wait for the next round. Quaqua asked, "Is it okay to provoke Marquis Louis like that?" Jiggy snorted coldly. "Doesn't he care about this the most? Today I want to make him lose miserably." Quaqua, making a person suffer does not necessarily require physical action. Mental attacks compared to physical injuries make people feel pain to the extreme. Moreover, Marquis Louis is basically not a peaceful person. My second brother did not provoke him, yet he did not spare my second brother. So if I provoke him, will he spare me? Of course not. I just want to anger him, waiting for him to come to my door himself. Only then can I act. Quaqua agreed. Quaqua supports the host forever. The next round is mathematics. This is your strong suit. You can do it. After the 2 rounds ended, only 40 people entered the third round. Starting the round, 40 people were arranged in seats, each receiving a question paper, then began to work. Jiggy looked at the first question. There are chickens and rabbits locked together in a cage. There are 35 heads above and 94 feet below. Asking how many chickens and how many rabbits are there? Gigi just finished reading and could not help but blurt out, "Oh my god." Quaqua's voice rang out, "Host, this is too simple. Just use the 2-variable linear equation of a modern middle school student to solve it immediately. It is truly a giveaway question. Host, hurry up and do it." Gigi also agreed, not expecting it to be so simple. At this moment Quincy, Gary and Simon Xiao were still having headaches thinking, but they heard the conversation between Gigi and Quaqua. The three simultaneously broke out in a cold sweat. Is this question simple? Why didn't they see it? Could it be that Sister Jiggy is a hidden math genius? While the three were still doubting, Jiggy had already reached the third question. She glanced at the question paper. There were 20 questions in total. If she used equations to solve them, she could do it very quickly. In less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Jiggy had completed all the exercises, checked them once, confirmed there were no problems, and directly handed in her paper. Originally, after 2 rounds, Gigi achieved first place, so the judges had high expectations for her. But unexpectedly, the third round had just started not long ago, and she had already handed in her paper. Could it be that she could not do it, so she simply gave up? The judges looked at each other, unconsciously shaking their heads. In such a short time, no one could solve all these math problems. They could not help but sigh. But just then, when Headmaster Jack Zhang glanced at Gigi's exam paper, he was immediately stunned. This answer? Headmaster Jack hurriedly took out the standard answer key next to him, comparing it with Gigi's work. Upon comparing, his heart felt like it wanted to jump out of his chest. The other judges saw Headmaster Jack showing a strange expression and quickly looked over. What is wrong? Headmaster Jack excitedly pointed at the exam paper. Look for yourselves. Everyone immediately checked carefully, comparing Gigi's work with the standard answer. All correct. She got everything correct. In such a short time, how could she solve it all? All eyes were focused on Gigi, but she was currently bowing her head in a daze, unknown what she was thinking. Half an hour later, the third round ended. The grading speed was very fast. Except for Gigi achieving a perfect score, the person ranked second was Quincy with 13 correct answers, and ranked third was Marquis Louis with 9 correct answers. When the results were announced, Gigi's exam paper and the standard answer were also shown for everyone to review. Everyone could not believe it, all looking toward her. They all wondered how she could solve it so quickly. Headmaster Jack asked with a smile, "Little Minister Song, how could you calculate the answer in such a short time? What method did you use? How could she answer this? Could she say she used equations learned in the modern world to solve it? Is that feasible? Here even Arabic numerals have not appeared yet, let alone linear equations with 2 variables. Gigi remained silent and did not answer. Headmaster Jack saw this, thinking it was inconvenient for her to reveal the method, so he smiled and said, "If it is inconvenient to say, it does not matter." Gigi knew clearly Headmaster Jack had misunderstood, so she said, "It is not inconvenient to say. Just that explaining it clearly is a bit troublesome. It is not something that can be finished in 1 or 2 sentences." Headmaster Jack heard this and immediately became excited. "So that is how it is. If you cannot explain now, then wait for another day. This old man will personally come to ask for guidance." Gigi had a headache. She only wanted revenge, making Marquise Louis angry to death. She did not intend to bring trouble to herself, and even be entangled endlessly by an old man like this. The remaining teachers heard this, as if enlightened, and immediately spoke up simultaneously. "We will also come to ask for guidance. Why don't we discuss a bit, choose a day and invite Little Minister Song to teach us together? If each of us comes one by one, Little Minister Song explaining to this person and then having to explain to that person, wouldn't she die of exhaustion?" Very reasonable. Correct, hurry and choose a day. Gigi held her forehead. Could these old men ask the opinion of the main person first? Before she could object, they had already decided everything. Who else had the right to decide? Before she could open her mouth, the old men had finished negotiating, agreeing to come to learn every day after lunch. At this moment, Simon Xiao and Gary also approached, laughing. "Sister Gigi, when you teach the headmasters, conveniently instruct us a bit too. After all, teaching one person is teaching a group is also teaching." Gigi had not yet said anything when Quincy spoke up first. "You cannot teach for free." Gary immediately smiled. "Of course, Sister Gigi's benefits cannot be missing." Simon Xiao also nodded seriously. "As long as Sister Gigi is willing to teach, other matters are easy to discuss." "Sister Gigi say, is that right?" Gigi thought, "You all have decided everything, why ask me? If I refuse now, I wonder if it is still in time." Just thinking about it, she knew surely she could not refuse. Looking at the expectant eyes of those old men, words of refusal could not be uttered. She sighed, nodding helplessly, considering it an agreement. She only wanted to participate in the poetry meet. Why did she bring a pile of trouble upon herself? Gigi sighed again. Well, go home and plan the teaching. The sooner she finishes teaching them, the sooner she can continue her leisurely life. On the other side, Marquise Louis looked incredulously toward Gigi. This math test was originally not simple, yet that girl got it all right. This girl ranked first round after round. Could there really be someone so talented in the world? He always considered himself smart, but for some reason he was not equal to a girl. When Marquise Louis was still sighing with emotion, the final round, poetry composition, officially began. Honestly speaking, coming to this round, Gigi was truly speechless. Making poetry, she completely did not know how to make poetry. Gigi secretly sighed in her heart, "Qua qua. I really don't know how to make poetry, what should I do?" Her system Qua qua immediately raised a mocking voice. "Host, you won't withdraw when reaching the final round, will you? When did you become a coward? Have you forgotten that brat Marquise Louis?" Hearing the name Marquise Louis, Gigi immediately interrupted. "Qua qua. I understand. This lady is the type who acts like a monk for a day and hits the bell for a day, acts like a horse for a day, being crazy for a day doesn't matter. This lady is the king in the world of top scholars." "Qua qua, just wait and see." Qua qua snorted coldly. It knew early on that as long as Marquise Louis was mentioned, even if the host was a weak Lin Dayu, she could turn the tide. Qua qua cheered for the host, long live the host. But in her heart, Gigi was still extremely anxious. She silently encouraged herself, "Gigi, you can do it. Storm, just come, just freely ravage me. I am not afraid." Quokka heard this and was speechless. "Host, have the Tang poems and song lyrics you learned in your previous life been eaten by dogs? Isn't now the time to use them?" Gigi hesitated. Would it be too immoral? Quokka coldly said, "Host, do you want to win? Do you want to slap Marquise Louis's face?" Gigi pursed her lips, took a deep breath and then sighed. She decisively interrupted. "Quokka, I understand. For victory today I will throw away all shame." Entering the 4th round, only 15 people remained standing. Quincy, Simon Xiao, Gary, and Marquise Louis were all on this list. Just then Quokka's voice rang out, "Host, the 4th round will have 2 parts. The first part is a predetermined topic, requiring everyone to compose a poem. The second part is a topic set on the spot by the judges, for everyone to make poetry right there. Doing this is to avoid the situation where someone knows the topic in advance, asks someone to write it beforehand, and only memorizes it." Gigi secretly nodded. This method is quite thorough, they even thought of this. At that time, 15 tables were set up, and the 15 participants took their seats. The first writing round officially began. The topic is now the autumn season when chrysanthemums are in full bloom. Within the time of one incense stick, write a poem about chrysanthemums. Seeing this topic, a famous ancient poem by Huang Chao, Ode to the Chrysanthemum, flashed in Gigi's mind. Wed until September when autumn comes, my flowers bloom while hundreds of flowers wither. Fragrance soars filling Chang'an, the whole city brilliant with golden armor. This was one of the poems she liked most in her previous life. However, there was no Chang'an here, so Gigi changed Chang'an to the capital. The original work was a rebel poem, but currently, this dynasty was only fictional. There was no Huang Chao, nor any rebel army rising. Thus, the poem simply described chrysanthemums in the capital. Ignoring the historical context of the author, just considering this poem alone, she feared no one would think of the hidden meaning of rebellion. Gigi held the pen and began to write. Wait until September when autumn comes. My flowers bloom while hundreds of flowers wither. Fragrance soars filling the capital, the whole city brilliant with golden color. She reviewed it, saw no problem, and put down the pen. This was the first time in 2 lives she did this. Gigi also felt a bit ashamed, but thinking of Marcus Lewis, she felt she could continue. Because this exam did not have too many participants, the judges could review one by one, then give comments. When looking at Gigi's poem, everyone praised it incessantly. What a line, my flowers bloom while hundreds of flowers wither. The line the whole city is brilliant with golden color is truly a divine stroke. Little Minister Song is truly hiding her brilliance deeply. The Song family's upbringing is indeed very good. Gigi only felt her face burning hot. The people around also revealed looks of surprise, looking at her with disbelieving eyes. They did not expect Little Minister Song, who usually did not reveal herself, to be a talented girl. Truly not revealing the mountain or water, making people marvel. In the first round, without a doubt, Gigi won first place again. In the second round, the teachers directly set the topic on the spot. Use numbers from 1 to 10 to compose a quatrain. Gigi heard the topic, and immediately 2 poems appeared in her mind. One was Mountain Village Expressing Feelings, by the Song Dynasty poet Xiaoyang. 1 goes 2 3 miles, Smoke Village 4 5 houses, Pavilion 6 7 rooftops, 8 9 10 branches of flowers. The other was Ode to Snow by Zheng Bangqiu of the Qing Dynasty. 1 piece 2 pieces 3 4 pieces, 5 6 7 8 9 10 pieces, 1,000 pieces 10,000 pieces countless pieces, flying into plum flowers and disappearing. Both poems were very famous. Gigi held the pen and finally chose to write down the Ode to Snow by Zheng Bangqiu. Why? Because Mountain Village Expressing Feelings was clearly a poem describing scenery, and in the capital, there was no such scenery. That was the scenery of rural villages and outskirts. And Gigi, who had just been allowed by her parents to go out, had not even finished walking through the capital, let alone setting foot in the suburbs, let alone being certain if the scenery in the suburbs was truly like that. As for Ode to Snow, it was different. Who hadn't seen snow? No one could doubt this. Even if plagiarizing poetry, it must be done perfectly, leaving no trace for people to catch. Quite a few people still could not write a suitable poem by the time one incense stick finished burning. It could be seen that the topic this time was truly not easy. The judges glanced through the works of the previous candidates, all shaking their heads. But when they saw Gigi's work, their eyes shone. The excellent, excellent. The last 2 lines are truly the finishing touch. Little Minister Song is indeed worthy of the name, a true talented girl. Gigi only felt her face getting hotter. The first 3 rounds she relied on her ability to win first place, but this last round truly shamed her conscience a bit. But wanting to defeat Marquise Lewis, she brazenly accepted those praises. Quincy looked at her, his gaze becoming even hotter. Gigi, you really make Big Brother look at you with different eyes. You are usually just pretending, right? Gigi laughed awkwardly. Big Brother. Don't talk nonsense, I am always like this. But facing Quincy's probing gaze, she could not say a word. Quincy patted her shoulder, acting as if he understood clearly. I understand. This is playing the pig to eat the tiger, right? Gigi hurriedly waved her hands, only looking at him, smiling with deep meaning. Understand. Among these poems, Gigi's poem carried the deepest artistic conception. Could it not have artistic conception? What kind of character was Zheng Bangqiu? One of the 8 eccentrics of Yangzhou. Could the work of such a person be poor? Just like that, Gigi won the championship in all 4 rounds, becoming the leader of the 7th poetry meet at Listening to the Rain Pavilion. Gigi did not need to guess to know Marquis Lewis was definitely angry to the point of going crazy. She glanced toward Marquis Lewis. Sure enough, his face was extremely unsightly. Marquis Louis only ranked 3rd. Actually, this rank was already very good, but in his eyes, except for the champion position, other ranks were not worth mentioning. His eyes swept over Gigi. Then looked at Quincy, who won second place, his eyes cold to the extreme, hating that he could not swallow them whole. Seeing that gaze, Gigi became even more excited, the smile on her lips becoming even more brilliant. Her smile was like a sharp knife, stabbing straight into Marquis Lewis's eyes. He gritted his teeth. Is this mocking his incompetence? He truly failed at the hands of the Song siblings. Martial arts inferior to Harry, talent not comparable to Gigi and Quincy. Damn it, must the Song family oppose him? Anyone blocking his way deserves to die. Quaqua said, that trash Marcus Lewis is about to go crazy. Gigi smiled faintly. I arranged so many things just to wait for him to go crazy. She did not look at Marquis Lewis anymore, because the award ceremony was about to begin. The top 3 positions of the poetry meet all had rewards. Gigi's reward was extremely generous. A rare fox fur brush, a stick of high-quality ink, an inkstone made by a famous master, plus a famous green jade zither. Looking at these rewards, Gigi's eyes shone. Although she did not understand these items well, she knew they were all priceless treasures. Any one of them, if taken out, would be something money could not buy. This time she truly made a profit. She glanced at Quincy's reward. The second place did not have an ancient zither, and the quality of the other items was somewhat inferior compared to hers. As for the third place, no need to discuss, only a brush and an inkstone. Marquis Lewis gripped the reward tightly in his hand, trying his best to hide the unwillingness and hatred in his eyes. After the poetry meet ended, Gigi was immediately surrounded by people, 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, everyone wanting to ask for her autograph. Finally, she could experience the feeling of a star. However, all autographs were refused by her. Now she was an imperial official. If someone imitated her handwriting to forge documents, the consequences would be unpredictable. In her previous life, she had watched quite a few palace intrigue movies, naturally understanding this danger well, absolutely unable to leave a loophole. When Quincy intended to sign for others, she immediately pulled him aside, explaining the pros and cons of this matter. Quincy nodded. Gigi was still more thoughtful. It was not until half an hour later that Gigi and Quincy could leave listening to the Rain Pavilion. Those people were truly too enthusiastic. They kept surrounding her, asking all sorts of things. She only selected what could be said before finding a way to escape. As soon as she left listening to the Rain Pavilion, Quaqua warned her. Host, be careful, Marquis Lewis might take action. Gigi smiled faintly, I know. As soon as she finished speaking, she suddenly saw a person. She raised her eyebrows. Quaqua. Do you see the person who just walked out of the shop opposite? Why do I feel he looks like Haley Wang? Quaqua immediately confirmed, no mistake, that is him. Thank you for listening to the story on Bamboo Audio channel. Please give the channel a like and subscribe, or leave a comment so the channel has motivation to release more great stories.